Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 budget hearings for Trinity County. We will start out with the Pledge of Allegiance with Heidi Carpenter Harris, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, much of my research early on in my career actually
Good morning to everybody. Today's meeting will have just a little rundown for the entire day. We'll start out with the department heads speaking first. We'll public comment in the room and on Zoom, and then we'll bring it back to the board. Supervisor Brownfield will not be here today. If you were wondering why she wasn't here, she is not going to be here, and we will continue on. So we will start out with county matters. These items include non-routine or controversial matters and are listed alphabetically by department. A member of the board, staff, or public may request that an item be heard out of order. A1, CAO Tuthill.
Thank you, Chair and Board. It is my pleasure and honor to present to you today our proposed budget for fiscal year 25-26. While Shan will bring up some slides for us to run through, you'll notice the format of the slides is very similar to last year. I'll go over some of our accomplishments from last year and some activities that we have planned for this year. And then we'll go over some of the, just expenditure and trend numbers. And then I'll just provide a couple comments. Then I'll turn it over to Craig, who will go through his standard, a little more detailed numbers presentation. And then we'll get into the actual department budget presentations and questions from the board. So with that, Shannon, if you go to the next two slides forward. I want to start out by going over some of the county achievements, and I want to highlight some of these. There's a lot up there. People will have a chance to look at these, but there has been, I just want to recognize the amount of effort that has gone into each one of these accomplishments individually. But then when you look at holistically the list, there is a tremendous amount of staff time and dedicated effort that has gone into each one of these. So we've hit on the 5-year strategic plan a fair amount. I gave a full presentation on it a few weeks ago. And I'm very proud of our achievements and our progress there. And we're sitting at, 29% as I presented to the board last time. That is a huge lift. That is a culture shift. That is a commitment from this board and the staff to remain on task and remain focused on what those priorities are that we've laid out for that long-term plan. So I really commend all of us as a whole team for sticking with that commitment, and I encourage us to continue to do so. Item 2 there is the general plan, another huge lift. This is not something that happens annually. This is a once in a multiple decade effort, and it's been going on for we're working on 5 years now. That had some significant interruptions that weren't part of the original plan. Some disasters, some COVID, all that kind of stuff. So you take those things out of there, and we've been working on it, still over 2 years earnestly. And we're getting down to, that home stretch of where some hard discussions are going to need to happen, some hard decisions are going to need to take place, and then we're going to implement a plan and associated zoning code updates, probably for the next few decades down the road. So big lift, big item, lots of progress, and as we've already adopted the housing element, which is an aspect of that overall general plan. And just last week, we had, another round of community plan meetings in 8 communities throughout the county. So again, a big lift, a lot of work there, and I just want to recognize that effort and thank everyone who's involved with that. Also, the behavioral health and HHS merger back in March of this last year, or March of this year, I'm sorry. Again, a big effort. We've talked about why we did that. We are really starting to see the fruits of that effort pan out. We talked about when we initially implemented it, an increase of full wraparound services that would come from that effort, some of the efficiencies that would come from that effort. And we're really starting to see those between the traditional health and human services and the behavioral health services. We're really starting to see that merger take effect and see those efficiencies, and very grateful for that and grateful for the leadership team that has been committed to that. That is a huge lift. Some of them are here in the audience today, some of them are online, but that is a huge effort, big time commitment. And there are oftentimes, that the amount of hours it's taking to pull that off is well above and beyond the norm. And I just want to appreciate and recognize that. The next bullet there, again, another big lift, the Ready Trinity. This is, all towards our public safety and communicating with all the residents in the county, the importance of preparation for any disaster. The system is up and running. It was, I would consider it a pretty flawless transition. And we've actually used the system a number of times now, and it seems to be working well. I would encourage more people to register for it and become familiar with it and to fully utilize the system, meaning provide the information that the system is asking for so we can appropriately use it for notifications as the system is designed. The next item there is jail health. This is another significant effort, partnership effort through multiple county organizations. And we are starting to see, the fruits of that labor as well. I'm sure, some members of the audience today may make reference of it later on, but I want to, make sure the public and the board know the amount of effort that's gone into making this happen. And we're starting to see that the numbers side of it pay out. You'll see on the slides, 3.5 million for this. A little bit later on in another bullet, it's another 2.5 million. So in that whole justice involved area under CalAIM, as we partner here, there are multiple benefits that we're starting to see from this. So very grateful to, sheriff, probation, HHSA folks, everybody who's partnered in this to where we're really being able to maximize the use of those funds across whole of county, and many are benefiting from that in both the adult and youth, justice involved arena. So big effort there, and that continues. These numbers that are on there, will be implemented over the next 18 months to 3 years, depending upon how it all, when the funding starts and when our implementation plans are actually approved and when we start spending on those implementation plans. But these are the overall numbers as of right now. We're hopeful for another round of these. The state is talking about a round 4. We've put in for some of those if it comes to fruition. So as that matures and as that may come to reality, we will obviously keep everybody informed. I'm not going to hit on each one of these, but I'm going to highlight a few. We have a new health officer now that has been publicly announced, and you've sent some press releases out on that. Another big effort, significant, important position in the county to keep our public safe. And each of these are big efforts. We jump down to a few more bullets down there. The $6.2 million behavioral health continuum infrastructure program. That was a grant that was put in for last fiscal year that we have been approved for, and we have that money, and we're working through, the throes of bringing a new facility to the use of the county. And that's going to be a huge, huge effort and a big improvement for the staff and those residents who will use those services in this new facility. So that effort has been ongoing, and there's still lots to come there, and lots of decisions that will need to be made in coordination with the state, and still unknowns, but it all is moving in the right direction. So another significant effort from staff. I hit on the 2.5 million there that's under the probation department and the youth side already, so I won't double tap that. But probation has played a significant part in, bringing forth these new programs, and these are not easy. It's not easy to navigate around the Medi-Cal billing process. It is extremely cumbersome. It is extremely administrative heavy, but with both feet and both hands and many body parts, they've all dove in and are making this happen in a partnership arrangement. And for that, I'm very, very grateful, as the members of the county should be as well. The last three bullets there are some of our IT efforts. Oftentimes, that is the backbone of what we do today, and that kind of gets overshadowed sometimes by a lot of other efforts. But, Dan and his team have made some significant strides in our IT area over the last, 12 to 24 months. We have our system is being monitored by a 24/7 SOC, so Security Operations Center, which is a huge, huge effort. We're making a lot of transitions in the Microsoft 365 arena to where our security is being increased. So, knock on wood that we won't have any additional security issues, but the threat is out there. The threat is real. People are knocking on our door virtually every single day, which is troublesome. But we have the right people and the right processes in place. We have a lot of room to move here. We have a lot of progress we still need to be making. This is a big focus area for us. We got a lot of old infrastructure still. We have many areas that we need to continue to improve upon here. But we have plans in place, and we are moving forward with those plans with the right people in place. Go to the next slide. Last year I had one page of these, so I couldn't trim it down to just one page this year. So we do have some more here, and I want to highlight a few. So in our HR arena, we've gone much more to an electronic system and trying to engage in the different platforms that are out there today in recruitment versus kind of the older, more standard, fill out an application, submit a resume, do a lot of things in old school written format. So we're doing a lot of stuff on the electronic systems these days. And we are getting better candidate pools for the most of our recruitments. So I think we're making some good progress there, and that's panning out. You see a 98.92% pass success score, if you will, on our safety and compliance annual audit via Trindle. That information has been previously sent out, but I want to highlight, that effort. That goes towards the risk compliance and reducing those risks throughout the county, and that's recognized with that score. We get both direct and indirect financial benefits from that. Our insurance rates certainly aren't decreasing, and I'll show you some slides on that in a few minutes. But everything we can do in this arena to mitigate those long-term future liabilities in the risk arena is very, very important from an employee perspective. So we need to continue that focus. In the cannabis arena, our program is fairly stable right now. We're up in that low 300, range of licenses. That's probably a fairly steady state number, and we're doing very well there. You can also see some of the grants that have come in there, so over, another $2 million that your county staff has gone out and advocated for and received for members of the county. And as you also see up there, a vast majority of that has been already dispersed. So kudos to Drew and the whole cannabis team. Environmental health arena, you see some stats and numbers up there. Lots of heavy lifts there. This last year, we've taken on the whole Coupa program. That's a heavy lift. Christy and her team, Christy's actually at some training right now on this topic, but her team, have done a lot of significant movement, significant additions in this arena. And each one of those in this arena specifically comes with a whole lot of training and a whole lot of requirements, but they've taken that on. There is funding that comes with this. So this is not an additional, general fund ask. This is not anything like that. But, their staff is plenty busy, believe me. And, their focus is that health and safety of all of us and the county residents. So that's very, very important for us to keep in mind. Sometimes we get frustrated with it. Sometimes it can be, you'll scratch your head a little bit as far as why do I have to do that? But in the end, it is all for our public safety. In the natural resources arena, we made some good progress this last year. We have a seat at the table, if you will, in a lot of different areas, and I'm very happy for that. I think that puts the county in a good position when we start talking about these topics. We've had a lot of discussion in this room about, river flows, about land uses, about Forest Service projects, and when we have a seat at that table, our voice is being heard. So, we've had some, I would call them adjustments in the natural resources arena over the last fiscal year. And we've made some changes there, but I think we're on the right course right now. And I would encourage us to stay that course and to keep that focus. And if you recall, that is one of our lines of effort within our strategic plan is really the whole natural resources and environmental arena. So I encourage us to continue that focus. And then the last bullet up there, Cody did a Herculean effort to get these accomplished. And again, this is to allow more flexibility for residences within the county to build and to make progress with structures on their properties in a smart, safe manner. And I think we've allowed and we've provided some of those opportunities, through the building department. So kudos to them. That's just kind of an overview in some of the things that we've done and are doing from a budgetary perspective. And I would, like to thank all of the staff who are involved with that. That's really all of the staff, not any one individual is making any of these things happen. This is a true partnership team effort. And we will continue to do that and make significant strides in all of these areas. With that, next slide, we'll kind of get into the actual 25-26 budget. So, you may ask, why are we in a little different position this year than we were when we had this meeting last year? And, we had folks out front and in this room that were unhappy with us because we were having to make some adjustments with service levels. Those are not things we want to do. Those are just the fiscal realities we live in. There were some tough decisions that this board had to make last year, and I'm grateful that we were able to make those decisions because we are now starting to see some of the fruits of those decisions come forth. Some of the reason we're in a better fiscal position, I mentioned the deficit spending last year, and I kind of articulated and highlighted that in the budget introduction memo from 24-25. But that trend has stopped, if you will. We've, you know, made significant adjustments, and we're not doing that anymore. And there are plans to curb it in a couple more spots. But that needs to continue. That has to happen for us to put ourselves in the best fiscal position we can. As I mentioned, we focused on the strategic plan lines of efforts and keep the strategic plan focused. That has helped us keep that focus area. Those Band-Aid fixes that we talked about last year have stopped. You know, we're not needing those this year. We're not doing those. One of the decisions last year, I know some people were kind of questioning it as far as, you know, why do you want to offer the golden handshake? Why do you want to allow senior folks to leave early? You're losing a lot of experience. Yes, we did. And yes, that hurts. And yes, that's hard to work through. Yes, that requires more leadership. That requires other people to step up and get out of their comfort zone and to learn more things. But is what it does long term, as you see up there, you know, we are seeing real salary savings this year because of that. And that's just the realities of why you do a program like that. You don't see it in the first year it's implemented. You see it in future years. So that's why we did that last year. There's a number of budget-specific items that we did this year to balance the budget in the budget memo, and I'm not going to run through each and every one of those. But I do want to also recognize and acknowledge that, you know, even though we are able to pay off some of our debt this year, and we have very little, you know, debt that's left as far as easy, recognizable, you know, program debt that people recognize, we still have the lingering hospital debt that is out there, and we need to fix that and recognize that. We have a plan for that. My intent is to bring that to the board, you know, a little more formally within the next couple months. So, well, probably the next few months, maybe in conjunction with mid-year review, to kind of formalize that a little bit as far as our payment plans and our options the board has. But with some of the debt services we've been able to pay off this year, if we just refocus those, you know, we can create a little bit less than a 10-year plan to get that all taken care of. And then as you continue to pay those off, it puts us in that better financial situation to where this board has some actual decisions to make versus just being put back in a corner where you really don't have decisions. So the focus areas for this 25-26 budget, you know, we talked about the HHA establishment already, but that was a focus area of this budget and how we were able to do some of the things that we were able to do. The justice involved funding sources. So I hit on some of these already. The board has, we've talked through these things in pretty much, you know, lots of detail. Director Hamilton came and presented this a few months ago, and she'll hit on a few things a little bit later. But the overall jail health budget, you know, because we're actually implementing some of those programs in this fiscal year, you know, last was kind of a planning. We had a little bit that we were implementing, but this fiscal year, we're actually recognizing some of those revenues. We have some expenditures, but we're recognizing that as revenue. So that's why we're able to be, that's part of why we're in a better financial position this year. Because of those offsets, we are able to then redirect some of that general fund money towards other areas. You know, I'm very happy to say that we're able to fully, just to the minimum level, and I don't want to, you know, mess Tim up or take any words out of his mouth, but to the minimum level, you know, we are able to fully fund our correctional officer staff and get our patrols back out of the jail and get them back out on the street where they need to be to provide that public safety. So that has been a big effort, big leadership effort, and I recognize that and appreciate that. That's just, you know, one of those examples. Under the service level there, so, you know, from a priority perspective, you know, public safety is always first. You know, who does that involve? You know, mainly the departments that are up there, but you know, we have a lot of mandatory services that a county government is required to provide. You know, the traditional public safety, you know, those things that come to people's mind, deputies, probation, jail, correctional officers. Those things are some of the easier ones. But we're also, mandated to provide, public health, environmental health, clerk, recorder, assessor, building, permitting, planning, district attorney, treasurer, tax collector. All those things are mandated that we do, and those cost money to do. And we need to recognize that. So those areas are first and foremost when we go to put together a budget and we listen to needs of departments. That's the first area that we try to fully fund and recognize those efforts. Then there are those things, that it just takes to operate a county. It takes to operate an organization, a small county like ours. You got to have the IT backbone that we talked about. You got to have an HR department. You've got to have those items that it takes to keep an organization running on a day-to-day basis. And again, those cost money. And then there's what I put in the category of like community interest items. These are things that I personally, would love to fully fund if we could. But the realities of it are that we don't. Things that fall into this category, like the library, the Fair Association, the animal shelter side of animal control, but the shelter side, our tourism partners, our economic development, those types of categories. I would love to be able to sit here and present you a budget where we had, hundreds and thousands of dollars or more going to each one of those things. If we had the revenue, we would be able to do that, but we don't. So we've had to limit our service levels of those areas based upon the funding realities that we live in. We did that last year, and we're doing that again this year. We are able to present a budget that has, steady state, if you will, at our library area. You'll see some people are going to look at that. Well, there's $100,000 less this year in that budget. Well, we're maintaining the same service level. We're working off the 2-year lag of still taking care of previous personnel expenses because there's that 2-year lag. But our level of service in the libraries is staying the exact same this next fiscal year as it was the last fiscal year, if this board adopts this proposed budget. So the level of service is not what we would like it to be, but it's not any lower than what it was last year. We're actually able to fund, the animal control and animal shelter arena at the same levels, a little bit better, without the grateful contribution that TASA was able to present to us last year. So, we are in a little better position, like I said, because we have some of those additional revenue streams. So that was kind of some of the priorities as we walk through this. The last bullet up there is on the state and federal funding sources. There's a lot of publicity out there. There's a lot of information through each of the professional organizations that we're associated with, from NACO to CSAC to RCRC, then to each of the professional organizations that the staff are involved with. As far as, well, what's the direct county impact on that? Well, a lot of that is still unknown. It's still to be determined. Some of it, the state is trying to backstop on some of those federal program cuts. Some of them, the budget priorities and the priorities at the state, have shifted around. Their budgetary legislative session, just closed at 10 days ago, So now we know some of those as those bills go before the governor and he either signs or vetoes those. Then we'll know what the realities are going to be for this fiscal year, and we'll start working towards those realities. Will there be some changes and adjustments? Probably so. Will staff be able to work with those and be able to minimize those to where they're probably not seeing a whole lot to the majority of people who utilize those services? Probably so, because you've got a very, very professional, competent staff that works very, very diligently on your behalf to provide those services to the county residents. And, but there will probably be some impact there, but it's still just kind of unknown. So I wanted to make sure that we're all kind of tracking that, and that's still in our thought process. All right. Next set of slides here, you'll see very similar as last year. I just wanted to make sure that we're all understanding where our expense trend lines are going. We personally feel these. We feel that same expense level, those same challenges when we go to buy things from a county perspective. You'll see the overall CPI index there. I'm very grateful that the trend line isn't the same as it was between 2020 and 2022, at least. That was a big spike there. But as you see, it is still increasing at a fairly significant rate there. You look at the housing CPI over there, a little bit smaller chart on the left, still increasing. One of the areas, you wouldn't really know it by our local prices, but the gas nationwide, is trending at least down a little bit, again, from the 2022 timeframe. So that's a good thing when we look at overall, like, DOT, county operations. We have a pretty sizable fleet. We have a pretty sizable amount of gasoline and diesel and oil products that we use. So that helps in that arena. At least the trend's going in the right direction there. So that's good. But this is just to kind of give you a gauge of where we're at expenditure-wise, from a little bit larger scale outside the county. And the data source there is the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, just in case anybody wants to fact check and data check at any point in time. So next slide. So this is our local expenditures and some of our trends here. We've talked about insurance premiums before, and yeah, that is a correct spike. Unfortunately, it's just the realities of the world we live in. That's industry-wide, that is not unique to Trinity County. All of the, partners, all the public agencies, even private, citizens, we're all experiencing the same thing there. I don't have a good answer for it. I know some of the things we've done locally to try to curb that. Like I mentioned earlier, our risk program and getting people out and bringing some more awareness to that. But the insurance falls into basically three categories. You got your workers' comp, you got your general liability, and you got your med mal, so medical malpractice. We have more control over some of those than not. But as an example, to decrease our liability for the driving side of things, we had a couple vehicle accidents, and the leadership team looked forward and said, what can we do to help provide some additional training resources to staff who drive a lot? So we were able to do that. Trindell has a certified trainer on the 5 Keys program. It's a defensive driving program. And those staff members who drive for a high percentage of their time all participated in that. It was very, very good feedback from that. I participated in it myself, and we walked around. You all learn a little bit from those things. Even if you drive a lot, and even if you're a very experienced driver, you always learn something from those type of courses. So I'm grateful for the leadership team who encouraged and really mandated that their personnel got out and took some of those types of trainings. But that's one thing, that we're doing to try to curb some of our cost in the insurance arena. And the Trindell organization that we're part of, those 12 other counties, believe me, that's very much a focus area as far as how we can do that. And then PRISM, the larger JPA that recognizes multiple public entities across California, is also recognizing this. And we're doing everything we can to hopefully curb that trend. But some of this is industry-wide and really nationwide effort that we got to figure out. The workers' comp there, you'll see some of those, that increase, and that's just the realities of an organization that has a lot of members. And I mentioned a few of those things that we're doing to try to curb some of those areas, but it is a definite focus area. And this isn't as much as the numbers of claims going up, but the cost per claim is going up much more than the raw numbers of claims. So, it's just more costly when people get injured these days than it used to be. All right, next, Jen. For utilities cost there, you'll see, that trend's going down in the right direction. I've had lots of discussions with PUD, as far as different programs, different ways we can do. We've worked a few different things, and I think we're getting about the best we're going to be able to get for those utilities that the county has to pay. But from a couple years ago, at least we're down in that category. Maintenance of structures, and fuel is kind of, up and down. The cost of business is what it is. But, our cost mirror the greater economy out there. But those are some of the trend lines that you can see. All right, next. So oftentimes we hear about, the employee salaries and, all that kind of stuff and how expensive it is. And you'll see, the big part of our budget, goes towards salaries and benefits. So here's the realities of our salaries. That there was some increases there between 20 and 23, 24. A lot of that was based upon the big class and compensation study that was done and implemented back in 20 time period. And you see some of those. It takes a little bit of time for all that to come into place. And there was a compaction aspect of that class and comp study created. Then there's this little thing called minimum wage increases, that the state levies upon us, that then we have to accommodate for. All those things are taken account into there. But you see the last year, things have actually steadied out. And you'll see in the general fund aspect, those salaries have actually decreased. So again, we're doing what we can to keep individual salaries where they need to be competitive. But also realize the other, fiscal realities that we are in. And this is just raw salaries. This is not the benefit side of things. That's a whole nother discussion. People oftentimes look at somebody's quote salary on some public website that's out there, and oftentimes 99.9% of the time, those are fully loaded wage rates. That is not somebody's salary. And there's a very big difference between those two. I'm happy to get into any of those details in a different forum if somebody wants to. Our unfunded accrued liability is at least not increasing as much as it did between 20 and 21 time period, but it is still going up. We have a number of retirees. We have a number of people that are going to be retirees, and that liability is always there. But we're actually in a fairly decent position here, and even though our liability is going up, it's not where we would like to be, but we're funded at a okay level here. But those expenditures are increasing. All right, next slide, Shan. So what can happen? These same things were put out in the budget memo. This is nothing new. These discussions have taken place before. But if you look at, what county staff has done to increase our revenues, there's about, just quick ballpark back of the napkin type math on those first two slides, there's about $15 million, in revenue that staff has brought in, to try to offset some of these expenditures. Staff is doing, in my opinion, about everything we can to provide the level of services given the realities that we're in. If there's a desire to increase the level of services or really to maintain the level of services we're at, collectively, there's going to have to be a realization that more revenue is needed. How we go about that? There's multiple ways. There's three of them up there on the screen. These have been discussed before. One of them has some local public initiative going on. As far as a potential sales tax discussion, the Tourism Investment District, the board has committed some money to that, and that effort is ongoing, although it's not going nearly as fast as some would like. Some would say it's in essence stalled right now because of some input. But the realities of it are most other jurisdictions have these forms of revenue out there, and they're in a different position that we're in. So you can have whatever opinion you want on these topics, but if you want a different level of service, then we collectively need to find more revenue sources. So that is all I'll leave on that particular topic. So the next slide, so just for my closeout, so the balance that the budget that we have proposed is a balanced budget, is compliance with the County Budget Act. It's taken a Herculean effort. I'd like to thank, the young lady to my left here, the young man that's sitting over there who's going to present in a little bit, everybody that's sitting out in the audience here today, and many, many of the other fiscal staff that put significant amount of hours into this budget. You'll see, this is the second year we've used this platform, if you will. There's lots more usability of it. There's lots more viewability. There's lots more analysis that's gone into it. And I think it is about as transparent as we can get everything's there. It's just a matter of how deep you want to dive into any of the particular areas. But everything we are proposing is fully transparent, and it's all there. Again, it's better position than we were in 24, 25, but it's not the desired level of service that staff would certainly be able to provide. I encourage us to continue the focus on the 5-year strategic plan and not lose sight of that. If there's a desire to make adjustments in the proposed budget, which is absolutely the pleasure of the board, I would just remind you that we need to have a 1-for-1 adjustment and offset. So if you're proposing to increase in a particular area that is discretionary funds, please propose an alternative decrease somewhere so we can do that and have that discussion and what impact that would have on that potential other decreased area if we're proposing to increase somewhere. So with that, I will conclude and turn it over to Craig for some detailed, more detailed discussion, and we can certainly have any discussion from the board right now if you want to.
I have one comment, and I think Rick has one also. Can we go back to, I think it was slide 10. Okay, so with a fairly flat revenue in Trinity County and the prices going up like you've seen, 20, 30% in most areas, if we want to help ourselves and continue to up services here in Trinity County, we need to pass the DOT tax. It's a tax that is not for anybody in this room, more than likely. We're at the very, very, very lowest end of a TOT tax of 5%. I could throw out some numbers from you from Lake Tahoe this last week, and their TOT tax is 13.7. And they also have assorted other taxes into that. We need to do that. There is no reason that the people of Trinity County should not be able to tax the tourism that comes here. And at 5%, it's a ridiculous amount. It's the lowest in the state or one of the lowest in the state. And if we just increased it to, we'll say 10%, average statewide, we would bring in another $300,000-$400,000. And, as I was up here in Tahoe and I look around and, obviously their stuff is very high compared to ours. Up there they have choice. They have choice where to go. They can drive down the road, go somewhere else. It's going to be the same thing. Here you have no choice. You come up here for a swim meet and you look around and where you're going to go. You don't look at the TOT tax. It's all, we're the lowest. Say we double it to 10. You're not going to say to yourself, well, I should go to Reading and save some money down there. It's the same there, if not more. And then it costs you money to drive there back and your time. So it's bewildered me for the last several times, twice that we tried to pass this and it doesn't pass. It's incredible to me. my stance personally is that we are not taxing at even the average rate in California for an occupational tax that does not tax anybody in this county unless your wife kicks you out of the house tonight and you gotta go stay somewhere. Which that happens, so, once a year, you guys might all get it. Um, Sales tax. We need a penny sales tax. 7.25 to 8.25 puts us about average. And, keep in mind too, when you pay a sales tax on things, say you go to the grocery store, the most common place for us to go. 80%, 75% of the things in that store, all your whole foods, your breads, your milk, your butter, your potato chips, your any vegetables, any produce, are not taxable goods. So it's not like everything that you buy is going to go up, 1 cent. And we need that. We got to move forward. We need more services. And as CEO Tadell said, if we take something from somewhere and give it to someone, we lose it somewhere else. These are the things that we could do to be a modern day county that has modern day taxes, that have modern day services. And we don't. We hear about it all the time. We're slow getting there. We don't have this. We don't have that. We need more of this. Well, you know why? It's because the people of Trinity County don't vote for TOT tax. And you need to vote for it. We need the money. It doesn't cost you a penny. So let's make sure those things get done. We need a sales tax increase by a penny. Let's make sure those things get done. I will let Rick talk about the third bullet point if he would like there. Maybe that's what he was going to talk about. But keep in mind, as you saw all those graphs there, everything's going up. And we have the chance to raise things up and try to cover those costs at least and not go backwards. And when this county continues to not pass a TOT tax increase or a sales tax increase that actually puts us just at the norm for the state, we're going to go backwards. We're going to continue to go backwards. Those prices are going to continue to go up, and we're going to continue to not bring any more. And, the gap that we filled in this last year from 24, 25 to now is it's unbelievable that we've gone this far and we look as good as we do. And, we are in the same situation as probably most of the rural counties in California, except that they probably passed both of those things and doing a little bit better than us because they have used their wisdom, their people, their community have used the wisdom to pass both of those taxes. And if we don't, we'll hear it today, hey, we need this, we need that, we need the other thing. You know what? 6 out of 10 people voted no on a TOT tax last time. So you look around the room, 35 people in here, so I guess a lot of people voted no. Not generally you, but a lot of people did. So please do it. We need it. It's the only way we're going to move forward. We cannot move forward with the price increases that we have without the TOT tax and the sales tax going up. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Thank you. My comments really, I wanted to just take advantage of this moment, a rare moment where we have all of these wonderful staff leaders here with us. It's great to see you. We always know we're up here making decisions that affect you, but it's nice to actually have you here with us. And I also wanted to just say a few things. So first of all, thank you. Trent read through those highlights. And I know he could have had 10 pages of all the highlights. And I think having, come from never paying much attention to jurisdictional government stuff until I started to get involved. I think, I just heard from everybody, the black hole of county government and nothing ever changes. And you get involved and you suddenly start to see things change every day for you. They may not change for us on the receiving end, but they change for you trying to make happen what you're trying to make happen on behalf of all of us. You do it, and I know that every single one of you is not getting all the staffing and all the funding that you desire so that you can deliver the service level that you want. And so you know that you're going to continue to hear from people that the county doesn't do as good a job as they should. And you know that if you had the money, you absolutely could, and you would. And so when I look at some of these things, I just want to honor, the great job that you do with what we can give you. honor the amazing work that you've done to bring in new revenues so that we are in a much better position. That's all you. That's not, the county didn't step up as a population, you stepped up. And I think that's amazing. And I just want to honor that you continue to flex and pivot and lead and care. And I know it can't very often be easy. So thank you, honor you, and hopefully we'll make some good decisions for you today.
Please.
I'll just say thank you as well. I know that each and every one of you have as much to do at home as you do at work in general. We're all living a very human life with all kinds of things tugging at us. And as costs increase for business within your scope of work, I know that costs increase in your home life as well. And so the stresses that we all carry every day can weigh us down a bit, but yet you guys all still continue to perform. And I'm super grateful for that. I know that sometimes our populace cannot always be very kind. And I know that words get hucked around in our communities oftentimes at us and at you. And I just want to say we're in this together. And I know that we do have to make some tough decisions. You guys have already done the hard work of making those and bringing those forward to us, and we're going to do our best by you and the best by our population that we can. And I just want to say thanks for everything that you do. I know it's hard, and I know that you're doing it, and I hope that there's far more laughter and peace and joy in all of your workplaces over the next year. Thank you for taking care of our people, truly.
Craig's got to make us look at all these numbers.
I will just pop in quickly and say, I have missed you for 6 weeks. Thank you for your patience with me while I have been away. And in this space of returning, any of you ladies that have had a baby, know what it feels like when your head has been out of a particular space and you try to come back into that workspace. My words don't seem to be flowing out my mouth the way they flow in my head right now. So thank you for your patience with that. And so I just want to say a yes and amen to the beautiful sentiments, the statements that have been provided in thanking you for your work and thanking you for the way that you have stepped up. I know there's only 31 people online right now, but maybe some folks will watch this later. And so to them, I would say that the part that you can do, if you're not going to vote yes on a TOT or yes on a sales tax, that you would be patient with the reduced services. If there are fewer hours provided at the desk that you need to approach, that you'll go ahead and check online or make that phone call before you drive into town and find that door locked. Rather than being frustrated at that, you will say, well, this is my part that I can do to say, that's fine. I can reschedule my life into those pockets when those desks can be open and those people are able to service and help me. I think that we are all in this together. And so for each piece that we contribute, maybe that's the part that the community can maybe step up a bit. So I add my thanks to what you do.
Craig, you're up.
See, is that gonna be? Testing, testing. All right, good. All right, well, here we are again, 25, 26. Time for budget hearings. Let's go over the numbers. Go ahead and hit the next slide. As we start every time, I just want to kind of clarify what we are, hold on just a minute. There we go. Clarify what we're doing here today. We're doing the total county budget. Now, what's in the county treasury is more than just county money. So the funds that we're going to deal with that are considered the primary county government are general fund, special revenue funds, debt service funds, capital projects, enterprise funds, internal service funds, and dependent special districts. Dependent special districts are those districts who have the same sitting board as you see here as their board. What is not included in this budget are schools, independent special districts, meaning they have a board separate from ours, and agency funds or custodial funds, which are monies that we hold of others that we're providing services to. The total budget this year is $150,910,034. This marks a 4.4% increase over last year. It also fully funds our debt service payments. And if you want to, you can cross out that S and it says debt service payment. We have one left, which is a big accomplishment over the last few years. Almost 1/3 of this budget is salaries and benefits across the board. So those are the people that are providing services in this county, whether internally or externally to recipients. All right, so let's break this down. This is a common pie chart. You've seen it as long as I've been doing this. You see this pie chart, and it hasn't really changed over the years. You will see that general government is about 10.5% of the total amount budgeted for expenditures. We have general fund contributions to others, about 6.45%. And then you'll see the four major functions that counties provide: public protection, public ways and facilities, health and sanitation, and public assistance. They all range every year between 19 to 22% of the overall budget. And it always depends on what the urgency of that year is. If you had emergency situations, you might see public ways and facilities go up that had to restore roads, had to take care of bridges that were damaged. If there's COVID, you're going to see the health and sanitation, the public assistance numbers go up. Public protection, unfortunately for them, they're tied to the general fund, so they're kind of they're stuck with us and our woes, if you will. And so that one stays as fairly consistent as we can manage in freeing up capital to support them. You'll see that the education, debt service, and contingency, all of that is covered by less than 1% of this entire budget. Next. So the major budget components, and these haven't changed from year to year either, because without additional revenues, you kind of have to maintain what you need to maintain, as CAO Tatil said. And that's consistent here in that we're providing $13.4 million in road and airport projects this year, $34.5 million of transfers. And once again, I will do this every year, every time I say the word transfers. In fact, I'll stand up and do this. It's taking money out of one pocket in the county and putting it in the other pocket of the county. It did not leave the treasury. And we do that because we have to hold our special revenue funds separate from general fund revenue because they're earmarked for specific purposes. And if we weren't to do that, we could potentially violate the use of those funds, which would create all kinds of nightmares in this county. So we are sticklers about that in the auditor's office to maintain those separate funds for each of these areas so that they are spent appropriately. And the way that you can move these is, so in the operations fund of each of these areas, those functional areas that we talked about, they will spend their money out of their operational area, and then they will bring a transfer in to backfill exactly the amount that they spent that qualifies for those earmarked funds. And so that's the way that we manage and make sure that we are not misusing funds, that we are properly spending them. $49.7 million for salaries and benefits. You will see that $11.4 million is general fund expenditure on salary and benefits, which amounts to 39.2% of the general fund budget, and $38.3 million non-general fund, which is 31.4% of the non-general fund budget. That last tab there talks about our OPEB ADC. ADC is actuarially determined contribution. And that's the requirement to be paid each year if we want to have a discount rate at the highest percent possible, which keeps our liability low. And you'll see that our unfunded OPEB liability as of June 30 of 24 was $38.3 million. Once we're done with this meeting, I'll go and work on the new number for 25. But the PARS trust, this is the trust, the irrevocable trust that's been set up, that monies from the ADC that aren't spent on pay-as-you-go costs, which are your costs for your retirees, other post-employment benefits, OPEB, that come due that year. So we take the ADC amount less what you have to pay as your current expenses for your retirees, and that difference is dumped into this irrevocable PARS trust. The balance on that as of the same time period of June 30, 24 was 21.5 million. So we're about 33 to 35% funded as of 2024. You can see that our PARS trust balance has jumped in 2025 based on contributions and earnings to 26.5, which is a wonderful number. That number is about 40% of the 24 value. I just have to caution you that that number, that UAL number up top, unfunded OPEB liability, could go up once I do the calculation for the June 30, 25. We also have in our internal service fund for OPEB about 4.9 million, which is another 10%, if you will, of that above number. All right. Once again, just a quick run through. If we start at 150.9 million, we eliminate the transfers that never left the county treasury. We're down to 116.4 million. And then we have our major projects of 13.4 million. That takes us down to 103 million left to fund the balance of county operations. And as we know from the earlier slide, 49.7 million of that amount is salaries and benefits. All right, so general fund revenue. We have 27.7 million basically in general fund revenue. Now, when I say general fund revenue, I'm talking about our Fund 101. It's just one simple fund. And as you can see, taxes are 50% of our revenue source for the general fund. And this is where all of our discretionary money resides, but there's more than just discretionary money in here. This is why the discussion on the revenues increasing would impact the ability for your board to increase services as discretionary money would go up. This is pretty consistent. The charges for current services is the second largest piece of the pie here, if you will. These are charges for specific services that departments in the general fund are providing. Probably the largest piece of this is the cost plan allocation recovery. And then transfers in, once again, transfers in are only moving cash, so it's really not going out. And this would be backfilling those services that are provided by general fund departments that could use earmarked monies. Right. Now, I hope this doesn't get confusing, but general fund revenue with the sheriff. So what this means is we're taking that earlier slide of Fund 101 and we're adding the sheriff's, what we call the sheriff general fund of Fund 110, and we're merging those two together to show you this pie chart. And so you'll still see that taxes and charges for services are by far the largest two pieces of the pie here, and then transfers the third piece, right? So the ones, if you kind of compare the two, what you're going to see that's gone up by adding the sheriff in here, transfers go up, charges for current services go up, and intergovernmental revenues go up. There are some federal and state monies for the intergovernmental revenues that the sheriff gets that get pulled into this to backfill what he's spent out of his operational funds. Charges for services, obviously, whatever services they can increase as well are in here. And then the transfers covering the movement of money in. So not a whole lot of difference. And what you'll see is the total at the top is 31.2 million. So the net impact of merging the sheriff with the general fund is about $3.5 million addition. Now, if you go into the ClearGov and you look at the sheriff's budget for 110, you'll see that there's 12.5 million in there. And you'll go, well, wait, you said 3.5. Well, that's because there's 9 million of general fund contribution that comes from 101 into 110 to help support the services of the sheriff. And so you'll see that later in a slide in this presentation. It'll be more clear. So we look at our trend analysis, and you can see here that general fund revenue, this is with the sheriff, has been pretty flat. The blue are actual numbers. And so I always like to clarify here I believe the 3-4 audit is published or is really close to being published. So these numbers, the first 4 columns from the left to the right, should be non-changing from this point forward. 4-5 is the current year that the auditor's office is working on to close, and these are also actual numbers. So there is the potential that that 27.6 million under fiscal year 4-5 will actually grow a little bit more, depending on the accruals. But the budget is the far right. And so it seems like our budget is much higher than the actual numbers to the left. And that's because we're budgeting revenues we believe will come in or will be used, including transfers. So if we have budgeted for, let's say, 15 million in transfers, but we find out at the end of the year that we only needed to transfer 11 million, that's going to be a 4 million decrease, which is kind of explains the little drop off between actual numbers and budget numbers. All right, always a favorite of mine is this general fund revenue with sheriff, the discretionary versus non-discretionary. So as I've been talking about earmark, that's non-discretionary money. It's earmarked for a specific purpose. And so that is that top, whatever color that is. I've been told I'm colorblind. So the top piece, the lighter colored, is the non-discretionary. So I really, on this bar chart, if you will, I really want to focus on the darker, to me it's a reddish brown, but the darker color on the bottom is your discretionary revenue. And this is where we really track the trend of this. And you can see that if you just look and drew a line to the top of those, you would see that it went up from 2021 to 22-23, then it flattened out. And there's a little bump again in 25-26. And I've put a note down below to show you that the little bump is we're anticipating 1.1 million more in taxes. And that's across the board taxes, property tax, sales tax, TOT tax, and cannabis tax. And so the share of the increase of those 4 is 1.1 million, and then an additional 0.2 of a million, 200,000 increase in interest income. All right, property tax apportionment. So every dollar of property tax that's paid gets split in this manner. 33% goes to the county, or 33 cents, if you want to think about cents on the dollar. 33 cents comes to the county, 63 cents goes to the schools, and 4% goes to special districts. And these are only special districts that would have established an AB8 factor back in Prop 13. Anybody remember Prop 13 back in the 70s, late 70s? I was in elementary school. So that tells you how old it is when you look at me and think of me as a 9-year-old, all right? So if they're new special districts, often unless they negotiate to receive some of somebody else's Prop 13, they don't get that. General fund expenditures. So this one you notice doesn't say the sheriff in there. So we're back to the Fund 101. And you can see here that about 31% of the general fund budget is spent on those supporting cost centers in the general government. And then a third of this money goes out, general fund contribution to others. And then public protection gets about 31% of this as well. And then, of course, public facilities, public assistance, education, and contingency get about 4 or 5%. So what I want you to focus on here is the general fund contributions. This is money that's going out of the general fund. This is the discretionary use money going out of general fund to others. And so if you watch that, you're going to see that the vast majority of that goes to support public protection. The amount, if I go back one here, the total, I wrote this down just so you know, the total is 9.7 million on that brown area. $9.7 million is what's going out of the general fund there. And then when we get to where we combine the funds 101 and 110, we have to eliminate the portion that goes to the sheriff, and you'll see that that's why the green area here has grown and the brown has shrunk. That brown amount there, the remaining amount general fund contribution going to others is only $641,679. So a significant amount is going to support our public protection. And when I say the sheriff fund, it's not only the sheriff, there's many departments that are in public protection that are getting that money. All right. Here is the breakout of that 9.7 million general fund contribution. You can see that 9 million is going to cover the jail, the sheriff, the coroner, animal control. Then we have our required matches, health realignment matches, the 292,662. You'll see at the bottom, mental health realignment match of $5,924. Those are required by code to be made every year. They're the same amount. That's, as far as I understand, that's the only amounts that go to those two departments in support from the general fund. 171,260 goes to OES grant match. This is money that we take out of the general fund and send to OES so that we can, in essence, double that money by getting federal and state matching money to help support our emergency efforts within the county. Our debt service payment is $51,603 this year, $51,603, which is much lower than it's been in the past. Obviously, we have some other things. Lake Patrol grant funds were decreased, and we were able to cover that shortfall to make sure that and continue the Lake Patrol efforts handled by the sheriff's office. And then contributions to others, $32,829, I believe, is covering workers' comp for our volunteer fire departments. We have to cover the indirect costs for grants admin as they don't have revenue outside of the grants to do that. It's $23,495. Boat taxes that go to Lake Patrol in support of them, $17,417. And then we're covering the non-reimbursable costs for the Natural Resources Department of $12,997. That's the discretionary money going out of the general fund. If you break it down by function, you can see that public protection is obviously the largest piece of that, and then health and sanitation, followed by public assistance and debt service. All right, general fund expenditures with the sheriff. This is the $32.7 million budget. Just like we did with the revenue, you can see that I believe these are orange, yellow-orange. Left, the four, starting on the left, the four columns from the left are actual numbers that have been audited. 4.5 is the year that we are currently closing. So we anticipate that that 28.3 million could potentially go up, particularly this would be depending on what our actual pension expense and OPEB expenses were for the year. Those are the types of things. Most of the accounts payable that occurred within 60 years went through your ERP system and are in here. And so there will be just those few expenses that are required by accounting standards to increase this amount. So we would see that this trend is still going up. And then our budget, once again, we're budgeting for all of the potential expenses, and rarely do we get to that point where we spend all of that money. Vacancies have a tendency to make you not reach that entire goal. Sometimes projects are put off because of weather, different things that would cause those budget numbers to shrink. But that, if everything were to happen, that would be your total 32.7 million spent in the current year. These are just another way to see the functional expenditures. You can see clearly public protection is number one, general government number two, and education and public assistance distant third and fourth. Same information, different way of seeing it. All right, general fund discretionary budget. This is $16,865,693. This is where it's going. General government gets about 19% of that. General fund contributions to others is 3.81% of that. This is already netted, if you will, the 9 million that's gone to public protection. That's why you see that the public protection piece is almost 3/4. It's about 73.5%. And then public ways and facilities and public assistance and education round it out. Public protection, of course, is our primary function as a local government. That's why you see it as a large number in our general fund budget. Okay, so we have the Pac-Man, red, blue on the left. It looks like it's going to eat the little pill over there on the right. We have non-general fund money without the sheriff of $118,186,012 is the budget for that. General fund, of course, 32.7 million. And then that circle to the right breaks out that blue pie piece on the left. And this gives you an idea of what's funding the general fund with the sheriff's general fund fund. We're using fund balance of $1.4 million to balance this budget. So even, I would say that number in the past has been much larger. So we're trending in the right direction. And as CAO Tuthill mentioned to you, board members, the actions that were taken last year, we're seeing results even here that we're getting closer to being a structurally balanced budget. We're still not quite there, but that is the ultimate goal. And this is as close as we've been probably as long as I've been here. So discretionary amount that we just talked about is in the purple. You can see that amount there. The non-discretionary is a little bit lower, and then of course 1.4 to balance the budget. In that, I will just say in that 1.4 is 580,000 of contingency money. So realistically, we're only using about 800,000 of our fund balance with actual expenses. The other 580,000 is being held there in case we forgot something, right? In case there's an emergency need for that. All right, debt service. This will be a lot shorter than in prior years. We have a day wireless radio lease, total payments of $56,329. And this is the last year of that payment. So once we finish with this payment, which happens in February, the county will be debt-free as far as bonded borrowings, which is a good thing. I am not aware of any plans to take on any debt in 25-26. But I have heard rumblings of small things like this in 6-7. So we'll get back to you once we know that. With that, I'd just like to also thank all of the departments. They do a wonderful job of fighting with me in a closed room. No, not really, but well, sometimes really, but they are tremendous people. They care deeply about your county. I care deeply about your county. They are doing wonderful work with limited resources, and I just applaud you for that. Thank you for your efforts. And I definitely thank the CAO's office, the CAO. You guys are blessed to have Mr. Tuthill as your CAO. I work with a lot of people, and I can just tell you you're blessed. Let's just leave it at that. And of course, I've worked with Susie for a long time on this budget stuff, and she is a worker, and she cares deeply about this county. And sometimes we have fights about all this stuff too. But that's good. That's part of the process. We still like each other. There's no enemies here. Sometimes you just have to fight it out, right?
Right.
And that's how we get to the results we get to. And I appreciate all of the efforts that you, board, have done. Making tough decisions last year has given you a good result this year. So with that,
Go ahead.
take any questions.
Craig, I know there's a reason for the distinction, but I just don't want people to be left with misunderstanding about our debt. So we have this debt service being paid down. We got rid of 2, getting rid of the last one, but we still have, as Trent mentioned earlier, the hospital debt. So I just want to make sure that people understand we're still carrying some debt. It's just a different form. And, but we've made huge progress.
Yes. So when I think of debt, I think of bonded debt, direct borrowings, and that sort of thing. the debt of the hospital at this point, I look at it, it's a negative cash balance. That's the way I, as an accountant, look at it. It's monies that have had to, that had to be given to the hospital to keep them afloat that we never got returned to the general fund. And so, yes, it's a type of debt. If you want to look at it that way, it's an internal debt to the county treasury. And so, yes, we do have a plan to get that paid off over the next 10 or so years. And I believe that it's going to be formalized more in a financial policy, if you will, soon, so that we make sure that we get there. And I would just, you know, an example of a formalized plan has been OPEB. We had to climb that mountain during a time where we didn't know that we had money at all. And we went from 10% of funding the ADC up to 100%. We got the benefits of the discount. The other debt, if you will, debt that is not bonded is your pension UAL, or the net liability for pension, and the net OPEB liability. Those are obviously our two largest liabilities on our financial statements, and those we'll need to continue to battle those and save and push those amounts down to securitize those benefits for all of our hardworking employees.
Craig, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to sit up here and have you give the great explanation that you do about our taxes here in the county. One thing I would recommend is we change the colors to primary so we don't have to go with kind of, you know, kind of beige, a little red. So that's Susie's job. Just, do we need a 5-minute break, anybody?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
We'll take a 5-minute break. We'll come back at just before 11 a.m. Right. Here we go, 11 o'clock. We're going to start what we'll call the second half of this meeting, although it'll be the second 80%. We are going to start out with the department heads and their presentation alphabetically. And after that, we will take public comment in the room on Zoom, and then we'll bring it back to the board. So we'll start out now with A, which looks like Angela and Ag.
Well, good morning, Chair and board members. My name is Angela Blanchard. I'm the Agricultural Commissioner in Siller. I don't have a presentation, but I do have a highlight from 2024-25 year. Our department purchased an air curtain burner, which we expect to receive within next month. This equipment will allow us to burn noxious weeds on site instead of transporting them, reducing the risk of spreading invasive species throughout Trinity County. We will share the burner with regional partners through agreements to help manage land, reduce fire risk, and support conservation efforts. The proposed budget is available for review. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Do we have any public comment in the room? On Zoom,
I show no raised hands.
board-wise? Thank you very much, Angela.
Thank you.
You have a good day. Next in line.
Next, we have the auditor controller, and I will show you real quick the budget units that fall under auditor controller. Maybe.
Christine, good morning. How are you?
Morning. Doing well, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I don't really have a presentation. I just wanted to state that our office remains committed to ongoing education and training to ensure compliance with state and federal laws, maintaining fiscal accountability. We are also very grateful to Liz Hamilton and the HHS team for their support and funding positions within our office. Additionally, we want to thank Craig Goodman for his assistance in our financial reporting and contributing to some of the training that goes on in our office. And lastly, we also want to thank the budget committee for their due diligence and their hard work in getting the budget completed. And I'm ready for any questions if anybody has any.
Do we have any public comment in the room? On Zoom? From the board? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have child support. They only have one budget unit.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Board. I'm Bennett Hoffman. I'm the Child Support Director. Our department serves Humboldt and Trinity County families. We get our budget allocation from the state. It's 1/3 state money, 2/3 federal money. We don't receive any funds from the general fund of either county. We are going to get the same budget allocation this year that we got last year. It's about $5.25 million for both counties. And we took a 3% reduction last year that did not get restored, but we're doing okay because they didn't cut any more this year. We're also getting an additional $50,000 for what they call electronic data processing. That's essentially money they give us to run our own IT program and support the state's computers. So we're in pretty good shape this year. A couple things I wanted to highlight. Back in the spring, your board approved a new shared services agreement for the counties. I want to explain a little bit why we did that this year. Back in July of last year, the state made a change on how they fund counties that operate more than one child support department. And if we would have went with that funding, we would have lost about 5% of our budget, or about $250,000. So we worked with the state for several months. We negotiated a new shared service agreement, which you signed, and that essentially keeps our budget allocations separate. So we have to do a little bit more work in the department from an accounting and a budget standpoint because they still give us separate allocations. But we thought it was worth it for the saving of what would have been a permanent cut. The other thing I wanted to highlight is our name change. 10 years ago, when our two departments combined, it was named North Coast Regional Child Support Services. Part of the reason for the change is the new agreement, but also we thought this new name better represents that we represent both counties. So the new name is the Humboldt Trinity Child Support Agency. And the last thing I'll mention, I just want to mention a personnel item. It's been on my wish list for a couple years to have a supervisory position in the Trinity office. Right now, we don't have that. All of our supervisors and managers are located in the Humboldt County office. I'm happy that this year, pending approval by the Humboldt Board and the merit system, we're going to add a manager position, and that manager position is going to be specifically located in the Trinity office. They won't just be overseeing that office, they're also going to be doing our budget and our fiscal processes. They're going to oversee those processes. And part of that is the succession planning. Our assistant director is going to retire in less than 2 years. She oversees the budget and fiscal right now, and what we'll do is we'll transfer that work eventually to the manager of the Trinity office. I think that's about it for me. I'll take any questions you have.
I have a question if I could.
Do you have any questions?
I
Or-
do.
Excuse me, any comments?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, public comment first.
Mhm. Any comments from the room? From Zoom?
I show no raised hands.
Supervisor Cox?
Thank you. Sorry. Just clarify for me if you could. I think I heard $5 million budget. I'm seeing 165,000.
Yeah, so our allocations that we get from the state are 5.25 million. The way that we do the budgeting is that essentially all of that money is transferred to Humboldt County, except for the money that we need to pay for the building and the rent and things like that in Trinity County. So what you're seeing in the budget there is just the expenses to physically run the Trinity County office.
Understood.
Is that
Thank you.
correct, Susie? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Any more comments from the board? Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Have a good day.
Next, we have clerk recorder assessor, and they have the budget units shown on the left.
Shanna, good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Shanna White, County Clerk, Recorder, Assessor, Registrar of Voters. I do not have a presentation, but I am here available to answer any questions you may have.
Do we have any questions in the room? On Zoom?
I show no raised hands.
On the board? Shanna, you have yourself a good day.
Perfect. Thank you much.
Whatever you like.
Next, we have community development, and they have the budget units shown on the left.
Chair, I have the distinct pleasure of being the interim community development department director. So I want to highlight a couple things from this department. One, the importance of it, but also two, this is a department that has been recently created last fiscal year, and we're working through the continual growth and establishment of this department. As far as there's a lot of good info in the budget memo, and we can certainly address any questions and have any discussion that you would like. As far as staffing, right now, I've announced it in here before, but I'll remind everybody we have an active recruitment out right now for the community development department head. So the director position is currently being recruited for. That closes early October. That's being run for 30 days and full US wide. Hopefully we get some good applicants for that, and we can have some interviews and make some decisions. We also have an upcoming vacancy in our building official position. We have that recruitment out right now. That position closes tomorrow. And we hope to have a good candidate pool for that and do some interviews and make a selection soon. So we have a very little, no, or small, gap in that position. But even with the departure of our building official, we still have a building inspector who just last week went to a course and passed his plan check review cert. So we have that. So nothing will come to a standstill or be paused from a building permit approval process. So we're in good shape there and in good hands there, thanks to Cody and his leadership, although he's departing. But we have another discussion on that later. But at all seriousness, again, I thank him for everything he has done for that department and the big items that I previously referenced and that we have been able to move forward on behalf of the county. We'll have some big shoes to fill there. In the planning arena, I've announced it in here before, but just want to remind everybody, we do have a new planner who recently started 2 weeks ago, Alex, and he's doing a very good job and getting up to speed quickly. So we do have 2 planners, although they are fairly junior. We do have 2 very competent and capable planners in the division right now. So grateful for that. Other highlights, the environmental health, like I said, we've taken on a lot of responsibility there, but that has come with revenue streams, and we've been working very close with them to ensure that all of their activities that are accomplished are in fact billable to those associated revenue streams, and we will continue that focus this year. The cannabis division, that budget is there. We are in a much better place this year than 2 years ago, similar to where we were last year. It's a good position we're in, solvent, no real issues or things to bring up there other than what you see in the budget. And if you've got any questions there, we seem to be pretty steady state right now around that 300 or so license. There are some new pending ones that we're just getting in, so hopefully we'll see a little bit of an uptick, and then we'll see how the equity program goes with the state. If they certainly offer another round, which it looks like they will, we will apply and we'll see if we have any matching funds to increase that pool. But right now it looks like it's going to be similar to last year's, but those specific guidance rules have not come out yet, but we're anticipating they'll be very similar to last year's. So there should be a little bit of funding there. The LJI grant has closed out, so that is done and behind us now, and we're looking forward from that in the cannabis arena. Natural resources arena, I touched on that a little bit already, but we're in a much better position there than we were, and Patrick is doing a great job, and recommend we continue in the direction we're going. So with that, I will pause and just open it up, for our standard process we're going through.
Do we have any comments in the room? Good morning.
Good morning. Lisa Wright Lewiston. I do have a couple comments on the cannabis portion. Number one, we talked about early on the lack of revenue sources. I do see that cannabis tax is budgeted to increase another 100,000, so that's important. I would like to see a little bit more emphasis on how we can further improve those revenue numbers. That will come with new licensing, certainly, as well as potentially looking for feedback from the highest producers. So perhaps an ad hoc might be appropriate. Bring in the highest producers of the tax revenue, top 5, 6, 7, for what's working for them, what's not working for them, and that could dovetail into your ordinance update. We currently do have many pending applications that are starting to move through, but were not moved through as quickly as we would have hoped due to the lack of resources. Now, it might have been budgeted resources, but we didn't have people on staff. So environmental compliance is a particular area. We did have 3 fully staffed people there. Now that's going down to 2, but there's only been 1 for, I don't know, maybe a year, which creates a huge bottleneck. My company, Flora, has over 40 applications pending currently, not with the staff yet. We have 18 at the staff, 40 in our queue. So I'm foreseeing the potential of the 320 some to increase dramatically more along the 400 or so plus. We have an active program to enroll people in the Post Mountain area, which there's been primarily in the past, rather than education and assistance in getting into the program, it's been a focus on compliance and destruction and that kind of thing. So we're hoping to get even more people and have that area more completely licensed. So that would also have the ability to increase revenues from the cannabis funding side. Cannabis is funded solely through fee payers, so it's not general fund money either. So I think it's important to also be keeping an eye on that balance in 0239. We did have some concerns a few years ago with how those funds are being used. Looks like we're projecting about a $900,000 carry forward. I do see we're earning some interest on that as well. So those are all important. I would like to see a higher a higher budgeted amount for this division for the reasons that I stated. We need to have more staff support. I would like to see code compliance focused on our program, not doing code enforcement. I think code enforcement, when you're looking at short-term revenue, those are from fines. Long-term is taxation that's going to reoccur every year, along with the employment of the people, small business support. So I think that using staff in that capacity should be pulled out. I'm not even talking about who's paying for it. I just more about the available staff that we need as this program continues to expand, because we're looking at this as our sole really business development effort for Trinity County. And we would like to see full support, especially because it's fully self-supporting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comments on Zoom?
Adrian Keys.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioner, Supervisors and staff. Adrian Keys from Hayfork. I'd just like to follow up a little bit.
Are you there?
Yes, are you not hearing me?
We're not hearing you, Adrian.
All right, let's move forward, and we do have the Canvas division coming up a little bit later. He can public comment on there if he can get through.
No, we don't. This is cannabis. This is part of community development. So let's just see if we can get, is there any other buddy on Zoom?
That's it
for comments?
I show no other raised hands, just Adrian Keys.
We want to take
we can
board questions and then come back
we
and
can
see.
try that. Does the board have any questions as we try to get hold of Adrian?
I do, if nobody else does. I'm just going to send Adrian a note and see if
Go ahead,
he's
I'll send it.
got a problem. So a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to acknowledge for the cannabis division that I think I mentioned it in a recent board meeting, but working with the Economic Development Group for a summit that's coming up in the fall, they asked for a success story from Trinity County. And I collaborated with Drew and with Adrian and trying to come up with something. And we kind of agreed it's not so much a success story in the sense that, you know, you wouldn't necessarily want to model after the roller coaster ride we've been on and challenges that we still have. But it was a success story in the sense of 3 years ago, we were at dead still. And here we are with, as noted, several $100,000 coming in taxes, several hundred applications or active applicants and more coming. So I think it's worth noting that as much as it's been a roller coaster ride, it's worth noting the progress that's been made, and we'll hopefully continue to make progress. CEO Tuttle, I wanted to check in on the planning. I guess I'll just mostly planning department. Historically, we often struggled because or at least it felt like we didn't have the money to fill all the positions that we needed to keep all those things going, you know, whether it's lot line adjustments or subdivisions or any of those sorts of things. And I know that we haven't been approving more headcount. So am I correct that we're still in a place where if we had more money, we would be putting it to more people in that department?
I would say yes. Interim Planning Director Pubani can chime in anytime he wants. I know he's in the room here. But we've had these discussions, and yes, we would. Even with the hire of the new planner, with the general plan effort that we have ongoing, which is a significant effort, significant amount of staff time. If there was additional funding, some cost, some trade-offs, we could hire, another planner. The plan with the community development director position, if we can get some experience planning in that arena, that will help offset some of that, but that's an unknown right now. That's a wish right now. But we would benefit from, additional staff to move projects along faster. We have been moving projects along. We do have SHN still on as consultants. You will see that in the budget. We have 100,000 budgeted for them again this year, and we use them often. They are both our senior consultant, or our senior planner type consultant, if you will. When we have complex issues, we go to them, we work with them. They bring that level of expertise to us, but they also work as staff and push projects through as well. Do the preliminary reviews, get a preliminary letter if it's incomplete. They, get that written up for us so we can send that out. Or if it's ready to go to PC, we can get that going. It just kind of depends upon what the project is and what the project is. So, I mean, it's a long answer to yes, we could use more funding there, so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
It
I
looks
think
like-
I was just gonna say, I think my comment on that is that I know there's a lot of positions that we would like to fill if we had more money as well. The reason I tend to focus on things like this is when I see something that can, at least in my view, be an investment that has a financial return. We have a social impact return on a lot of positions and providing better service to our county's residents. But when we can clear the way for things to be done faster, it can mean greater economic development, which can mean more money that could then fill those other jobs. Whereas the other one just fills the other job. And so that's the only reason I keep raising it. And it's good to know that that's still on our radar. I think that, when we think about it, well, if you had another $100,000 or another $200,000, there's lots of ways you can invest it. That's one that I just don't want us to lose track of. So that's.
Okay, thank you, noted.
Is Adrian back on? It appears his microphone may be muted.
Adrian Keys, are you there?
Thanks again. Are you able to hear me?
Is it?
No.
Yeah. Sorry, Adrian, we're still not hearing you.
They can hear him. Other participants in Zoom.
Oh.
You want to take?
He says on his end, everything seems to be good.
Yeah, Sue is saying he's
She's
talking
probably
on
gonna
Zoom. We can all hear him.
We can try. We can try.
You want to take a break to?
Let's take 5 minutes. 11:30.
And they can hear us, which is great.
Test, 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 test. Is it good enough?
This was actually
All right, are we ready to go here? Everybody back that wants to be seated, seated? So we have the problem somewhat fixed up, although we're gonna have to be, as the people speak on Zoom, fairly quiet so we can hear them. Besides that, we'll just continue on as we were.
Do we want to confirm if Adrian has any more comment, or is he good?
Adrian did text me and he said it's okay, everything's good, but you can ask him again if you like. But Adrian says,
I think he's got his hand raised.
Adrian?
Hey,
Give it a
text,
try.
and
okay, he's got.
can you hear me this time? Still can't hear me?
Yeah, you're very
Yeah.
quiet because of how you're coming through, but we can hear you.
Yell.
Yeah, that's the best I can do. If it would be possible, I would suggest that Chair Gogan just read my very brief comment and then maybe pass it to Miss Albies to see if it works better for her.
So his comment was, wanted to suggest to move cannabis ordinance updates forward as a way to support and enhance the tax-paying industry. Do you think you could read this as the comments? And comment in the room from,
I just want to add that I did hear from Adrian related to that comment, and I think part of his request was that we implement the cannabis ordinance updates so they can be in effect for this coming cultivation season. That was the other thing that he pointed out to me. So I'm just adding that to give additional context to his comment to you.
Just to clarify a little bit, that would be a request to bring forth any cannabis-specific ordinance updates in Chapter 17, separate from the other Chapter 17 ordinance updates, and bring that forward a few months so that could be implemented in April-May time period.
That in terms of the overall timeline for zoning code updates, we could present it all collectively, and then we just go down a different track to adopt the, updates 1743 while the rest of it moves forward on the general plan and zoning code track.
Okay.
was there any more comment on Zoom?
Veronica?
Hi, Veronica Kelly Albies. I was actually just getting on to see if you could hear me okay? Or is it
Yeah, go
also
ahead.
quiet? Well, I was just backing up Adrian. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't just an Adrian issue. So to make sure where this problem was lying. So that's all I was really doing, trying to back him up.
Thank you. Bring it back to the board.
Well, I would just ask that with regard to those requests, we've had this comment before. We're having it now in a budget adoption process, which doesn't seem appropriate to today's conversation. But I wonder if we could maybe just have a small staff analysis as to benefits and if they outweigh, what that does, because there's a reason that we chose to wait and do it with the general plan update. And I understand what you're saying about the season and everything, but maybe there could just be a little time spent in analyzing the cost benefit ratio.
It would be my pleasure to bring that topic to you all.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from the board? We will move on.
Cooperative Extension?
Good morning.
Good morning to
Chairman
you.
Hogan, and Honorable Board. My name's Larry Ferrero, and I'm the Cooperative Extension Livestock. Well, actually, I'm not Livestock Natural Resource Advisor anymore, but I'm the County Director, and I'll talk about that in a second. But something that just became clear to me as you started into the department head discussion is why everybody sat on that side of the room. Like, I know I took a shower this morning, but I'm here all by myself, but I get it now. So I think the camera, we need a wider panning camera so there's equity in where you sit. Just real quick, I wanna express my gratitude to the CEO staff and Craig in particular in working through the budgeting process. We've had some changes this year programmatically. One is USDA funding for the CalFresh Nutrition Education Program. That program was eliminated in the federal budget this year. So we no longer have that program available on the University of California side in Trinity County. And I'm sorry that occurred. So that's gonna mean some changes to our program. We're sort of sorting out what those are gonna look like. But on the upside, I'm really, really pleased to let you know that I am no longer the Livestock Natural Resource Advisor for Shasta and Trinity County. We hired a really smart young guy named Justin Vigil, works out of the Reading office. He was up here last week, met with Ag Commissioner staff, as well as Young Family Ranch Board and Kelly Sheen at the RCD. He's going to be great. A young man grew up in eastern Shasta County on a ranch, went to Cal State East Bay and got a degree in economics and played basketball for them for 3 years, master's from CSU Chico. Just a really great, bright spot. And in addition to him, also hired in the last couple months, we hired a woman by the name of Camila Quintana, who is the forester for Shasta and Trinity County now. She started a week ago, Monday. I also drug her up here on her very first day of work to meet with Kelly and Angie and the Young Family Ranch Board. Kind of a really, really interesting individual in background. She is a registered professional forester and a pest control advisor, bachelor's from UC Berkeley, go Bears, and then master's from Georgia in forest economics. So I'm really, really pleased that we're able to bring this level of expertise to Trinity and Shasta County. So I have no questions, no comments with regard to the budget or budgetary process. I just want to thank you all for the support. And if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Thank you so much. Do you have any questions in the room? Any public comment in the room? On Zoom?
I show no raised hands.
The board.
Just what was the program where funding was canceled?
It was the CalFresh Nutrition Education Program, and our educators here primarily did educational work in the schools across the county.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have one comment, if I could, please. I sat in on that budget adoption discussion, and I would not otherwise have been aware of the amount of time that you donate to our county. And I just want to say thank you
Oh, no.
for your commitment and a lot of years of expertise and knowledge in this area, and just thank you.
No, you are very kind. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
All right. Next, we have county administration and all these budget units on the left.
So, Board, I can hit on these a little bit. So there's lots of just kind of various budget units in here, and obviously we can take any questions you would like in there. I will highlight a couple that may have jumped out at you and just explain them. So under county administration, there is an increase in that proposed budget from previous years. There's three main reasons for that. One is the elections consultant contract that the board previously approved. We are going to administer that contract out of the admin office versus like the elections office, just due to transition and timing of the leadership in that office, and then the role of that contract. We have 100,000 that is budgeted there, although that contract max amount was up to 50. We've got 100 in the budget just for planning purposes and just for some adjustments, because that effort is not only good for this upcoming special election in November, but it also can, those funds can also be rolled over to the next general election, which would be June of 26. So we're gonna maintain that in at least in the short term. We may, as the leadership gets selected and gets their feet underneath them in the clerk, recorder, assessor elections, we may transition that back. But just for planning purposes, that's why you see an increase there. We also have 150K proposed to go to our PARS 115 trust. So we've talked about that in here. We established that trust 18, 20 months ago now. And we are proposing to send 150,000 to that to, again, continually buy down our long-term liability. It's not enough, you know, but it's a start. And it gets us in the game. It gets us investing in that. It gets that process started. So that's why we want to do that. And also have a business manager position in the admin office that we want to set up for what I call a centralized procurement function. Right now, there is no centralized procurement within the county. And what that creates is a bunch of inefficiencies and multiple services and multiple products being bought in like the same categories, but multiple models, styles, brands, and it just creates lots of longer term issues. I'll give you a couple examples that we're going to try to fix. One is like in the telephone services arena. Right now, we have multiple service providers within the different departments. We have multiple styles and types of equipment in those departments. We even have multiple rates within the same service provider within the county. So there's reasons for all that. I'm not, saying what was done in the past was bad. It's an area where we can do better and create some efficiencies with that. But to do that, I got to have a position to do that. We got to do a little bit of analysis, and then we got to implement. We've got a draft procurement policy that staff has been working on for quite some time that position will then implement. And it will bring us some efficiencies. It's not going to be immediate. It's not going to be in the first 6 months. It's not going to be, we're not going to see a light switch and these things are going to get better overnight. But it will take some time to do that, but we will see efficiencies. Another area is like in our IT equipment purchases, multiple styles and types of laptops around, multiple, software subscription levels and all. Just there's lots of different problems or different equipment items out there, which then creates challenges for Dan and his IT team to do maintenance on those things and stay update on all those. You might have seen them remote into this little system here. That's a really cool feature we brought on board recently. And then they can go and remote into certain people's machines. But if we've got 10 different styles of machines out there in 10 different versions and, over multiple years and all kinds of stuff, it creates issues for the technicians when they're going in and trying to figure out, what actually they're working on that particular hardware. So we're trying to get after some of those type of issues, and a centralized procurement function will handle that. It's not going to be we're not going to manage all the county contracts, obviously, out of one position. Departments are still going to take care of some of their contracts, but we're going to start a process, and we'll see where it's going to evolve to. But that's part of why you see some increases in the admin area there, and I wanted to highlight that just so there's no confusion and no differing or no theories being thrown around out there as far as why the admin budget is higher. Then, like under county council, you'll see this year's, the proposed budget is actually less because our costs have gone down in there, mainly because we haven't had costly litigation. But we do have a little bit of money in there just for potential. Some of our grants and stuff, we're starting to work down on those. Items like, vehicle abatement is in here, the library is in here. I touched on that a little bit earlier. There's a decrease in that from a budgetary perspective from last year to this year, but that's because we're still working off of the personnel, change that we see there. So no change in service level. There's grants admin, there's Veterans Hall. So under the CD Hall, we should see some actual construction start later in this fiscal year. So we've almost got all the bid information and project design and all that kind of stuff done. That'll go out to bid this fall and winter, and then we'll see some construction starting if things work out right, early in 26. But you'll see some money set aside in there for that actual project. Then you've got, the couple enterprise funds in there. You got cemetery and you've got solid waste. So any questions on that, we can go into those as appropriate.
Do we have any questions, any comment in the room? On Zoom,
I show no raised hands.
board?
Yes. I think it would be a productive use of time to just put a couple of sentences toward the grants department. There's been some confusion of this in the past. Public generally thinking we have a grants department. Why don't we go after more grants? There's a period of time when some housing grants caused us some liability. And so then what this $517,000 represents today, I think would be a good
I think the 517,000 that you're talking is in Department 1950, correct?
It is.
Yeah, so that is a transfer in to eliminate the negative cash balance that one of our old legacy grants departments has been carrying. That negative cash balance we have been carrying on the books since before I started.
And that was the housing, correct?
County. And it was primarily the CDBG housing loans that we've done. And my understanding is that with all grants, there's admin, there's discretionary general fund dollars that need to be contributed, as well as the grant funding. And there was some lack of communication or miscommunication between the individuals running the programs at that point in time and the board, and where and how money was being allocated. And they didn't come and ask for the discretionary general fund money that they needed at the time to make the grants whole, and ran into these deficit cash balances. You may recall a couple board meetings ago, we came and asked for $136,000 in contingency funds, and that is to clear out the second old legacy grant deficit fund balance that we have. So between that action and this budget that we're asking for now, we would zero out the old negative cash balances and then only be focusing on the most recent run at a grants division that we had, and zeroing out that negative fund balance, which we will have some of. I haven't finalized the reconciliation to know exactly where that's going to land.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that.
So to your statement about a grants writer, in the county having a grants writer or not, I've heard lots of different comments on that. So what Susie just explained is there's pros and cons to everything, but that's definitely one of the cons. And what we've done is propose to eliminate this negative cash, so we're not having negative interest that we're paying on that. So we stop some of the bleeding. As far as the future of like a grants writer, the county has never had a dedicated just general grants writer. There was one very specific on certain grants. They were mainly housing focused. The challenge with grants, and every county in the state is going through this right now, is we can write for a grant. The grant writing is not the issue. I can hire somebody, we can use AI. I can put together a grant package that'll water your eyes. That's not the issue. You know, we've got the data, we've got all that kind of stuff. The issue is administering the grant and the admin that's associated with that and the restrictions that the vast majority of these grants put on that admin cost. So there always has to be a recognition and a commitment from whomever is applying for that grant that they know they've got funds to commit to it as well. Even if there's no like match to it, there's always an admin cost. So that's what we're digging out of now, and that's what we don't want to recreate by just hitting the repeat button. There's been discussion as far as, you know, using some outside sources to evaluate like an overall grants program and to get some assistance in grant writing and even some grant administration. There's been some counties that have dabbled in that. The success is, it's dependent upon the specifics of that jurisdiction. I've heard good things. I've heard some, you know, not as good things. But that could be an option if there was, you know, a amount of money set aside for that. The minimum to get into that game is about 50 grand. Up to, you know, you could spend 250 to 500 on it. There's a very specific program that CSAC has. We've talked to them. We've talked to the administrator. They've talked to some of our department heads. We've kind of explored that a little bit, but I don't think we're quite at the position yet to recommend committing funds on that because we're still working out of some of these other things. And we are going after the very specific grants that we know are of benefit to the way our county is currently set up and structured. Not saying it's not a good topic for the future, but just not now in this budget cycle.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? We will move on.
Okay.
Our next department is the district attorney, and they are responsible for these budget units here on the left.
Is unavailable this morning. I am here to answer any fiscal questions, not legal questions. I will say, you know, last year we lost a position. Our 2 remaining support staff, although they can't do everything, they have done an amazing job just keeping us going. They have worked so hard, and I just wouldn't imagine not having them there. They really stepped up, and they step up anyways. They just get a lot of work done for 2 people.
We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Any comment in the room? On Zoom?
I show no raised hands.
You are good to go.
All right.
Next,
Next, we have Health and Human Services.
Liz,
and
good, almost afternoon.
Afternoon, I know.
Very long list of departments that she oversees.
We'll spare you from scrolling, but I do have a presentation. So good morning, Liz Hamilton, Director of Health and Human Service Agency. We serve our community through direct service education and resource and referral. We are a helping industry. That's what we love to do. Every person that we serve has a story, and we get to come along in their life and be a part of their story, offering just compassion, respect, and reflecting their worth. Most of our programs that are they're supplemental in nature. Our goal is always to help support someone get to self-sufficiency, whether that's an elder living in their home or bringing families financial support until they can get on the right path. All right, we serve approximately 9,000 individuals within our communities. We work as a unified team. We're proud of our work ethic. Staff would highlight for you, as they have for me, of our agency values. Integrity and accountability rise as their top 2. As demonstrated in this last year, since we met last, we are committed to collaboration across the county, across our county departments, nonprofits, community, just so that our county can thrive. We maximize our funds and invest in our community so that everyone is well served. We're committed to responsible and ethical management of our finances and all resources entrusted to us. We are heavily regulated and audited by our state and federal partners, which is where our money comes from primarily. We'll talk a little bit about the general fund investment. I just want to offer my sincere thanks to our fiscal leaders that are here, Kate and Jamie and Crystal, who just keep us going and keep us financially secure. That is not an easy task. Shan, if you could go to the next slide. Yes, you can get an arm cramp scrolling through, we have 33 budget units broken into these human services, which is our largest portion of the department, which includes social services, OES, and veterans and housing. That is the majority of our revenues coming in and expenditures going out. Behavioral health has 12 budgets, public health has 10. You can go to the next slide. So this slide plus the next two really just for your reviewing pleasure. You have that. Anyone in the public can see it when they have gone online to review. I list them only to just highlight that these are directed. We have little discretion in that we can lobby and advocate for things for Trinity County, but these budgets are earmarked to be spent in a very specific way. We're audited to that way. We did last year receive into our department First Five, which is a special department. I'm not going to highlight that today, but that has been a great partnership with our public health team, and that's been amazing to see that unfold. If we can go on, we have, of course, our behavioral health and then our public health budgets next. And so I will highlight, as it's been highlighted for me, these 10 budget books translate to 27 budget books in the state with 31 different funding streams. So our fiscal staff has a lot of tracking across all 33 of these budgets. It's a lot of tracking, and it's not always what the list you see that the board would see. It becomes much more expanded on the state and federal side. If we can go to the next slide. I want to spotlight realignment. Each of our three kind of major areas of our department, whether it's public health, social services, or mental health, we all receive realignment funds. They're the two realignment buckets, 1991 and 2011 realignment. These are generated from the state. There's a methodology. We receive money from sales tax and vehicle license fees. And I will call out that 81.5% of the money coming in for public health is then shifted to other county departments or other areas within the county to support health services overall. It's pretty miraculous, actually, when I look at our budgets overall and see what our investment in our community is. With social services, of course, this being the largest area of our department, these are entitlement programs, not meaning that maybe the sense of the word, how we socially think of entitlement, but entitlement in the federal government is children coming into foster care. We will pay for that foster care placement until. We have conserved individuals that we support their placement and their needs. We have children that are adopted that we would support those children's needs. And so IHSS is another area that we spend approximately 4.3 million in IHSS wages per year that comes out of this. So when we're looking at in the same way that you would look at in general fund, if it's a 1-for-1, if we increase in one area, we have to decrease somewhere else. These happen within these budgets. All right, next slide, please. This year with our 1991 health realignment, these are kind of the areas that they go. Of course, we support our public health department in operating costs, which includes our health officer. Excited to welcome Dr. Orloff on board and hear his vision and his excitement. We support animal control, environmental health, our ambulance response, including NorCal EMS, who's the emergency management system, kind of helping to pull all the ambulance industries and services together. We indigent burial for folks that, pass, that don't have a means for, their family doesn't have a means for burial. We step in, that's a public health issue. Jail health, which we have spent a lot of time talking about efforts in jail health. Our hospital loan that we help with that debt service, placements of juveniles that are in the probation placements. And that list changes as needed to support the community. Let's shift next. We'll go 2 slides. We're going to talk about your general fund contribution to us. Excluding what Craig already described about the match for the realignments that I talked about and how those are used, that match that comes in and then goes back. These are 4 major areas that you contribute to. 2 of them, the top 2 are social service programs. Those are where you are mandatory to do that. So these are general assistance persons. Of all the hundreds of programs that we have, they did not qualify for a single one. And this is where then the county comes in to support this population. You invest $70,000 towards this program. We serve between the 15 to 38. Right now, we're closer to that 38 number. Public guardian, when we are conserving a person's, we're stepping in as their estate in their physical care. This is a program, we match your contribution internally with MA dollars. We assist in making this program whole. This contribution that you make, we need. It is statutorily required, but it is not enough. And so we have come in to support that as well. And then the last 2 are kind of like your optional but not programs, right? Veteran services, I will highlight great work. I mean, you guys are familiar with Jennifer Dobbs. She does amazing. She has grown the program. This December will have been 6 years that we have had this in our department. I'm just proud of the exceptional work. It is a matter of perseverance to file claims, research claims, try to get a positive outcome for our local veteran community. She is the one for that task. We have grown this program from very minimal, I won't say 0, but close to minimal numbers to now more than 400 or 406 that have been benefited, and with many more in the queue. And so we will be looking for support to grow this program. We would wholly benefit in this community from additional support in veteran services. It is very specific, the type of service that she needs. So I can't just give admin staff to her. We have to have veterans staff assigned to her, and we look forward to doing that. Monthly benefited amount coming into the county, talk about local economy, for money in pockets is just over $772,000 a month. So just over $9 million a year coming in income to people that are well-deserved. Office of Emergency Services, your contribution here, 171,000, just over, makes up our budget this year, 675,000. This is just to serve whole of county. We operate with our 2 grants, so this is a match for our EMPG grant. And then we turn around, we have particular buckets that we spend in. We did introduce to our system last year a body of 5 that reviews every funding request. We kind of vet that internally, and then we go to our state and federal partners to get final permission on projects moving forward. They are earmarked to be spent in certain amounts. For example, with the sheriff's office, with our Homeland Security, 35% of that grant would be kind of coordinated with the sheriff. And so we do that very, very well. I'm really proud of our effort. One of the things that I actually don't talk about a whole lot with OES, but it's our coordination, right? We have an event here. You know, you think often of fire, but if we spent 30 more seconds thinking about it, we would actually realize our winter weather is harsher for an extended period of time, more than the burst of maybe a fire season. And so us working very close with our DOT partners and ensuring that we are submitting claims timely, is very short time turnaround. And this last year, we were able to support through OES and help get 1.98 million returned in reimbursements to the county. So we're very proud of that work. All of this is time sensitive. How do we make it happen? How do we achieve what we do? We have to talk about our staff. So next slide, please. I think one more. Okay. Thankfully for you, you don't have to look at all the tiny boxes of all of our staff that we have to print on a very large piece of paper now. This is a program org chart. We have 148 allocated positions, 17 in public health, 2 in behavioral health, 5 in substance use services, 82 in social services, together with our admin that support those programs. Emergency services and veterans both have 1, and then jail health, which is on the sheriff's allocation list, but co-located with us to help oversee. We average lately, it feels like between 24 to 28% vacancy rate. I would love to see that go down. We had, prior to the merge, had that down actually closer to 15%. And then, you know, you just add more numbers and the math changes. The math does a different math. We have 4 branches. We divide our agency into 4. And then from there, we have divisions. And then under there, we have units. So it's scalable. Happy to take any questions on that. We did introduce very recently to staff. I think the paint is still wet. We introduced our integrated support services division. In the sake of coordinating and CalAIM, we realized the need to have a manager that coordinated where a program requires 3 or more of these divisions to come to the table to work. And so we have a manager that tackles that project. The next slide, please, shows other staffing support. We, in this first column to my left, is positions that are, it's 10 additional positions that are supported through public health. These are specialty. In the first and second columns, these are all specialty classifications that we do not require because of our population size. We do not require full-time. So we have the benefit and our fiduciary responsibility. We pay for these services as they're used or in a prorated contract amount that comes to you and you approve. So thank you. The middle column there is for direct support to behavioral health. And we are very, very grateful for these specialty. And then our inter-county, these are positions that we support across county departments. And it is our privilege to do so. We are the largest department in the county. We know that we have a lot of work demand on our county colleagues. And so offering support to keep workflow going, because we demand quite a bit. We are constantly working on something, and supporting just makes sense. Very thankful for each of those. It's not just a title, there's names and people there that we appreciate. And so highlights, if we go to the next slide, highlights from 24-25 were included in our budget narrative. And I know our CEO highlighted some of them, and if you were to print them, these are the things that we were proud of that we listed were complementary to our efforts in the strategic plan. It's 4 pages of our agency's effort in that way, but the things that I would highlight again within that is just our mobile crisis response unit in partnership with our sheriff's department has been a phenomenal lift just to cast a vision for and operationalize it when you're reliant on community members to call. One call could last several hours, and I'm just really proud of our team in that way. The fact that our public assistance division really has grown in capacity to support 8,700 individuals seeking support in that way. Our effort in just healthcare and trying to move the dial on healthcare access is a big lift. Public health has done amazing work. OES saw a very successful year with the launch of Ready Trinity, completing our hazard mitigation plan. Our substance use prevention work, you know, I know that we talked about it, especially with Yanni Desmond with her leadership achievement that we brought to you to share. Just pulling off the Reaching Forward conference and the gathering of 250, you know, elementary school students across our county was just amazing. In the jail health, you know, in that space, in the last 11 months, watching our team come together and craft a plan and coordinate across the many divisions within our department, but then our external partners with the sheriff and corrections and probation, it has been nothing short of phenomenal, the work that staff have done. And it requires just dedication to a vision that integration works, that we can maximize our impact for those that need it in our county. Next slide, we have, well, actually, we can hold it on here, but I will say that our big challenge, we had actually restructured within our department following Mike Catoni's retirement, right? Someone that senior retires, you realize really quickly it takes 3 people to do their job. And then with our merge, we kind of restructured again. And so I just applaud all staff and how patient they have been in the process of change. That is not easy. This has been a big year. But all good things. I think we're still, despite the change, have a great output in the work that we're doing. So areas of focus for this year, you know, we have listed there, I think, retention and recruitment in light of our merge. You know, we want to move that vacancy rate, of course, in the right direction, move that down, have retention, have good training. I've talked about, we added our new division, our go live with the Path Justice involved with our correction officer, and that partnership with inmates directly, that goes live in October 31st. So we are on board for that. Similar and kind of modeling after how we crafted our teams for jail health. We're doing that with the change from Prop 1 that was voted in by California last year that shifts our Mental Health Services Act to the Behavioral Health Services Act. So we are fashioning teams around those changes, the requirements of how to serve those with mental illness and substance use disorder and in the space of housing. And we are really excited for, you know, what we're going to be doing there. Expanding veteran services, just our CalAIM initiatives, you know, that was a Medi-Cal transformation. There was a 5-year strategic plan from the state with our marching orders. So that is, when I think of CalAIM and coordination, we are 3 years into that 5-year plan. And then we had a new fund account start this year with opioid settlement funds. So we are building teams around how to maximize those dollars and serve our community really well in that space. And then we're assessing, I know that the state is kind of in their budget season. We're waiting for the federal adoption. We had a lot of changes federally with the big beautiful bill and how that may or may not impact us at a local level. It will. We're waiting to see how exactly that does. A lot of it will be in just workflow, but there will be new goalposts and benchmarks, if you will, for our performance as staff with federal dollars received. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions if you have any. And I threw a lot at you. It's a really big agency with a lot going on, so I just want to make sure I give you our highlights.
Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment in the room?
It's a lot.
On Zoom,
I show no raised hands.
the board?
I just would like to clap my hands together for the improvement in veteran services. It is something that I really have a heart for, and your department, as I've mentioned in the past, takes care of our people so well. And so thank you all for doing that. It's highly valued and highly necessary, and it's welcome and appreciated. So thank you for everything that your enormous department does for all of us.
And I want to thank you. You guys do a great job. So your help behind you there.
Yes, amazing.
And, you know, I know them all, and they're phenomenal people and workers and part of this community. And we couldn't be more thankful for all of them. You guys do a wonderful job. Thank you very much.
I just want to say one of the privileges of getting to sit in this seat for a while is those opportunities that you have to go out of county and to sit with other county officials and representatives, and you start hearing stories of the things that are happening on the ground in other places. And what I bring back, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you the change in my perspective. When you start learning those things, you start realizing what you have, where you are. You don't know that until you get to go and see what is elsewhere. What we have been offered in the leadership that we have in, I just would highlight the two departments that have just really risen to give us budgeting flexibility. I would not want to be sitting here with all of you lovely people today if what has taken place over the last year and really kind of teeing it up before that had not happened with our PathJI and HHS incorporating behavioral health, all those pieces. We have such shining stars among us. I don't know how to sing the praises louder, but if we don't take every opportunity to say thank you and to really point that out, I would be remiss. And so, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Next, we have HR, and they have these 3 budget units right here.
Good afternoon, Chair and Board and Trinity County. Forgive me, I'm not very big on public speaking, so hang in there with me. I did prepare a few words. So some of our goals to continue to build out the HR department would be continuing to make the connections between our county code and policies to ensure that they're not contradicting each other, and kind of bringing them more into the 21st century or whatnot, with the digital world. We want to continue expanding and digitizing the recruitment process to make the process go quicker for our applicants, be easier for the department to push through that process of hiring new employees, maybe bringing them on a little quicker. We would also like the program to work a little better for us in a way that saves the county money and retains qualified employees that are good at what they do and is a good addition, a good addition to the team that they join. We want to continue working with the auditors and the payroll team to also digitize some of the payroll processes, bringing it a little more into the 21st century as well, making it a little easier on our departments as well as the team that has to process those. We also want to continue supporting our risk team in building up the wellness program and continue to build morale within the community and within the employees. All of that while supporting the greater strategic plan and the greater Trinity County community. So thank you.
You did pretty good.
Well done.
Thank you. Very nervous if you can't tell.
It's only us. Thank you very much. Any
Thank you.
comment in the room? On Zoom,
No raised hands.
the board? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Next, we have information technology.
Dan, how are you?
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the
afternoon.
board. Don't have a presentation, but I have a brief statement for your consideration. I appreciate that CAO Tuthill already touched on some of these points in his highlighting of achievements earlier in the presentation. But I'll kind of get into a little more detail on some of that. Technology underpins nearly every service Trinity County provides, from public safety and health to finance and public records. To keep these services reliable and secure, our IT department needs stable, adequate funding. First, staffing and professional development are critical. The technology landscape is evolving rapidly. We must retain and train skilled staff to meet new challenges, remain compliant with CJIS, HIPAA, and other regulations, and protect against increasingly sophisticated cyber threats. Second, ongoing investment in modern infrastructure. Servers, network hardware, cloud resources, and maintenance agreements are essential to prevent costly outages and ensure business continuity during natural disasters or emergencies. Finally, strategic funding for data management and security enables us to deliver user-friendly digital services for county staff and residents while avoiding the far greater expense of downtime, data loss, or reactive fixes. I encourage the board to view technology not as a cost center, but as critical infrastructure, just as vital as our roads and utilities. With consistent support, the IT department can safeguard county operations, reduce long-term costs, and provide the reliable services our county expects. I appreciate the support of CAO Tuthill and the support of the members of the board, as well as the support of HHSA. It was shown in the previous presentation that we receive significant support for staffing for our department from HHSA. We've had one member of our staff funded by HHSA since 2016. With the approval of this proposed budget, we'll be able to add an additional position in our department, which will solve our immediate staffing challenges. So I'm definitely looking forward to hopefully that being approved. I also appreciate the support and collaboration with probation, who is working to identify some additional grant funding resources for us. We've worked with OES. We're doing all that we can to get creative to identify alternative funding sources. But this funding that we're requesting in today's budget is also critical for the functioning of our department.
Dan, thank you very much. Any comments in the room?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Keller
Good afternoon.
Woodville. I kind of want to advocate for the IT department right now because, in my opinion, for 25 years that I've been in IT, all the way from the grunt level, all the way up to people manager, project manager, I consider IT public safety because if IT wasn't around and systems went down, it would come to a halt. If you had a ransomware attack again, the county could not do their job. Staffing is horrible. It says here the combination of vacancies and above average staff to employee ratio, 75:1, compared to the California mean of 42.5:1, make it increasingly difficult to maintain service levels, let alone expand capacity to growing demands. There is no overtime or extra help in this IT budget. I don't see how you can add additional things in the county budget while taking $200,000 away from IT. I really don't. Perhaps CAO needs to put off their business service manager position a few years. Perhaps we don't hire a deputy CAO for a few years. It's not if you have another cyber attack in this county, it's when. And then what happens? The systems go down, public safety suffers, the sheriff's department can't get into CLETS, probation can't do their job, the tax collector can't do their job. IT is usually not a revenue-based department, but non-traditionally it is. It really is. Because when things come to a halt, the county cannot get revenue. I urge you guys to put some money back in the IT budget this year before something cataclysmic happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan, I just had one thing to add to this. Did you have any in Zoom?
No raised hands.
So thank you for everything. I know a few months back, when Michael left, we put out for hire, and I think it was 8 or 9 people, and you won. And it's great to bring in and keep people from our team, in our team. Historical knowledge is a big thing here, and I appreciate you doing what you do with the money that we have to give to you. I think you guys do a great job, although I don't use any of your information technology. No, I'm just kidding. Very little, the least. But you do a great job, and thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Chair Gogan. Like I said, I really appreciate the support of the
Absolutely.
board. I appreciate the comments from the commenter, but I also recognize that we're in a budgetary situation where difficult decisions have to be made. The demand for IT is only growing over the years. The dependence on IT among all the departments. We're looking at those highlighted achievements earlier, and IT has a role and a hand in many of those. And that demand is only going to grow in the future. So if it can't be now, I definitely encourage you to look at increasing the resources available to IT down the road. But again, I appreciate all that you've done for our department to this point.
Thank you very much. Buddy.
I just want to say thank you so much for the work that you do. I mean, everything from you turned the news on this morning and there's the Secret Service has dismantled the significant threat, to the UN meetings that are going on. I realize that IT and the technology is growing. It's in some ways an incredible benefit, in other ways a very dark kraken that's hiding under the the dark sea of evil to some degrees. So as much as it brings us, it also threatens us. And so I just want to say thank you for doing what you do in your little corner in the basement of the courthouse. And I appreciate you answering me when I'm knocking and I don't know what I've done and I need help to redeem myself on the computer. So I just thank you for everything that you guys do. And you may feel like you're unseen, but you're not. I see you. So thank you.
Dan, I do have a question for you. Just as has been noted, technology has been a part of my career for a long time, continues to be in other roles that I have. And so I know I've commented before to Michael about the ratios that we heard.
Mm-hmm.
The level of support that you provide for the number of people you have to support is amazing. I just want to ask, is there any critical risk that you think we need to be aware of as we're making these final budget allocation decisions associated with, obviously, as with other departments, everybody would like to have more, they could provide better service, they could do things. But if we're talking about risk, is there some specific risks that you feel like we are exposed because of the level of staffing that you have?
I feel that the budget as proposed meets our immediate staffing challenges.
Okay.
And a big part of that is my previous position was network administrator. Moving into the CIO role, I took many of those responsibilities, many of the projects I was working on with me. So I'm trying to juggle those with the additional responsibilities of the day-to-day management of the department. With the help of HHSA, we will be hiring a network administrator to backfill that position, which will free up more time for critical things like reviewing security logs and event logs, and that's going to go a long way to helping keep our network safe. So as presented, I think that this budget, like I said, it goes a long ways. We've had a department of a staff of 4 since 2016. Prior to that, it was a staff of 3 for some period of time, although, as I understand it, historically, there was a time when there were more staff in the IT department than there will be even with this addition of a 5th member. This was a ways back. But as long as I've been there, we started with 3 when I first began in the department. Shortly after that, we got a 4th person. Now we'll be adding a 5th, which is a big step in the right direction. It still doesn't get us to the IT tech staff to county staff ratio that I would like to see. There are kind of standards around that are recognized among California counties. But I think those also don't scale entirely accurately to a very small county like ours, because where one IT staff person to 40, 42 or so in a larger county might make a lot of sense when you're talking about only a few hundred total county staff, and we still have all the same programs to support as a larger county. We still have a sheriff's department and a jail and BHS and HHS and everything under that HHSA umbrella. All these different mandated programs that we have to support and maintain, and with a very small number of staff compared to what that ratio would equal out to in a larger county. So I think really here, we need higher than the commonly recognized ratio of text to staff than you see statewide, where we're actually much lower than that right now with 1 to 70 something county staff to IT technicians. So it's a step in the right direction. There's still a lot of progress that could be made. I would love to see more staffing in our department. We could use it. But again, I recognize that with our current budget situation, we might not be in a place to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I guess CAO title, just to you, I know we've had multiple conversations about technology and my desire for the county to at some point invest in some of the same kind of platforms that Dan's referring to, where we take ourselves into the next generation and provide better service and streamline processes and everything, which will mean the need for resources. But also we've had conversations about some of these headcount allocations, whether it's retaining them, adding them, whatever. And my sense is that considering all these things, you still feel like we're in the right allocation that we need for what we have as priorities across all of these departments that could be funded with that same money.
Yes, I would agree with that statement.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
I know you've been already giving this a lot of thought, and we've talked about why you want to do some of the other things, and I support them, and I just wanted to make sure that we're addressing that.
Yes. And Chairman, may I make another
Go
statement?
right ahead.
So I want to address the perception of the IT budget being cut. The IT budget, if you look at strictly numbers from 900 to 700, is being, quote, cut. But the real impact or the real reason for that is because there's not the one-time ARPA funds in the budget that have already been allocated for and spent in this budget. So it was a one-time plus up, and now we're just back. You know, it's not a fair statement to say we're cutting the budget from a one-time ARPA input or plus up. So I concur with Dan. You know, I concur with the public comments. I concur with the board comments that yeah, we can and should be doing better in our IT department, but I think we have a concerted focus there now, and priorities and some plans and programs in place to address the critical needs. And we have some of those programs established to keep our systems monitored very differently than we were 24 months ago.
Thank you. Any other comments on the board? Dan, great job.
Next, we have probation, and they oversee these 13 budget units right here.
Ruby, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. Ruby Fierro, Chief Probation Officer. And I wanted to open with, we've talked a lot about CalAIM, and I just wanted to share that with that grant funding, I wouldn't have even applied for that if I didn't know that I was able to contract for help in writing for that grant, for reporting for that grant. There's a lot of deliverables, and I don't have people for that. I don't have the staffing for that. So it's beneficial that this grant involved funds where I was able to contract with the support that I needed to manage it. And so a significant amount of that money also went to that contract. And Medi-Cal is something that, you know, I'm law enforcement. Medi-Cal is a difficult language for me. I have to thank HHSA staff for helping with that. It's a difficult area to be navigating. If you go to the partnership website. Right now, we are listed as a healthcare provider. Oh, okay, I'm a medical office now. Yeah, it's just this whole different way of funding and thinking about utilizing funding that's out there. So we have applied for another round of that funding. The goal is trying to fund 4 positions for up to 5 years. And so that's been a lot of effort and a lot of work. I have to thank my business manager, Vicki Wayhill. She has done a tremendous amount of work in this. It's really, been Vicki and I in my department for everything with CalAIM. So, also, right now, what I have written on my board, just to remind me, is that we're doing our ordinary extraordinarily well. And I just think that that's an important point to keep in mind because we're dealing with funding that is constantly under threat. There's a lot of state funding that comes into my department, and every association meeting that I have, it's what bill is cutting what funding stream. You hear as a board a lot about the different realignments, the 1991 alignment, the 2011 realignment, AB 109 realignment, 823 realignment. So all these realignments, yes, is state funding and responsibilities that get transferred to the county along with some funding, and then they change the funding. And so we're experiencing that at a huge rate in probation. I have lost funding year over year, and there are more funding formulas that are currently under threat and bills that are being put out there to change what those funding streams are available to us and what requirements that they're going to have. But we continue to do our ordinary extraordinarily well. We work with adults, we work with juveniles. We have the full responsibility of the juvenile delinquency system since DJJ closed. Some of you might recall DJJ was CYA back a few years ago, and then that's closed. So all of those responsibilities have also transferred to the county responsibility. So with that also comes some funding, and that is currently under threat of how much that will cost to have those youth detained that need to be detained for a long period of time. And when I say youth, that's up to age 25, depending on the crimes that they're committing. So I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of those things coming at probation. And we have a small staff that are doing amazing things. The impact that they have in the community, it's individuals that are part of families that are part of this community. What they do really matters. And we never lose sight of the fact that we are also always working to protect victims and those victim rights. And there's a lot that gets said within our justice system, and about, reducing recidivism. And that is also making sure there's less victims in our community. And in this last year, we have, it's actually been a 2-year investment where we did effective practices in community supervision. It's called EPICS, and everybody in my department is trained in this. It's evidence-based way of supervising individuals and working with them to reduce recidivism, which translates into less victims. As far as adding programming, I was very pleased that we were able to work with a medical office for tattoo removal. And that is very important, particularly when you're talking about human trafficking, which is something that does happen in this community, and being able to remove those markings from those people as they move on in their lives. I'm very proud that we were able to get through that. Some of these programs would be a little bit more at risk based on our funding. We are very reliant on CCP funding right now. And as I highlighted in the narrative report, we are working in our CCP funding at a deficit that we can only maintain for about 3 years. And that funding is primarily to my department and the sheriff's department. And so as we see these other revenues increasing that we're bringing into our departments, we will also be reducing our reliance on the CCP funds because we will have to. There's only so much in reserve. And that is everything that I really wanted to highlight for you today. I'm happy to take any questions.
Ruby, thank you very much. Any comments in the room? on Zoom?
I show no hands.
Board? Representative Harris.
I just want to say thank you. Just the comment about tattoo removal, it's something that I've had the opportunity to talk with a number of people who've desired to have that, and it does change their lives. And so those simple things aren't simple things. They're huge things. And I know because of the time I spent with you in your office space there, the personal things that you do, that you invest into the people who you're helping is really, really valuable. And I thank you for that. And I thank you for your team. You guys have an opportunity to really make a difference. And I appreciate that you look for that difference making.
My people are great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Enjoy the rest of your day.
Next, we have the sheriff, and they have these 16 budget units here on the left.
How are you today, this afternoon?
Fantastic,
Fantastic.
fantastic.
Holy moly.
Well, I'm going to start off by saying what a difference a year makes. This time last year, it was a sad, sad occasion for the sheriff's office. We took a significant hit last year. It was to the point where my entire record staff was cut to one person. And that individual ended up taking a golden handshake halfway through the year. So we had a retired annuitant that finished out the year until we could have some salary savings in order to hire somebody. Patrol staff, the budgeting for patrol staff was all put into the jail because the jail budget was cut last year. So we had no patrol for just about the entire year. And another couple of people took golden handshakes, which further limited how we could provide services to the public. So here we are a year later, and the budget has significantly improved thanks in a large part to the efforts of our probation and the efforts of Health and Human Services Agency through some health realignment, through the efforts of CalAIM. We now have a nurse that's staffing in the jail. We have an additional physician's assistants providing healthcare into the jail. That's freed up a lot of monies to enable us to fully staff correctional deputies in the jail. At this point, as of last Friday anyway, every one of our allocated positions in corrections has been filled, absent the two custody techs that we're still recruiting for. And for sheriff deputy, we are in a position where we can hire sheriff deputies now. In fact, tomorrow we have testing for that position. We're hoping to hire anywhere from 4 to 6 deputies, depending on their level of expertise. I'm told that at this time anyway, there are 11 applications that we have on file. So that's very exciting for us. This budget, you will see that we have in there the authority to have an additional 5 vehicles to go in through a lease program through Enterprise, which has been very successful for us the last 4 years. So we're excited about that. You know, one thing that's very important for us is to get back to and maintain 24-hour, 7 days a week patrol coverage, because Trinity County is huge. You know that. Our deputies strive to provide a visible presence, rapid response as best we can to the outlying areas, support for victims of domestic violence, elder abuse, and other crimes. The Sheriff's Office also addresses complex threats, including the disruption of transnational drug organizations and the mitigation of environmental damage caused by illegal cannabis cultivation, protecting both community health and the county's natural resources. You know, animal control services safeguard public health through rabies prevention, humane care for stray animals, and the investigation of animal cruelty cases, further contributing to the safety and well-being of residents. Last year, that was another issue with cuts to the animal shelter on the table, we had a lot of people here from TASA that were showing their support. And as the CAO mentioned, TASA came to the table and offered up a lot of money to keep the shelter open. And that was greatly appreciated. This year, we don't have to do that. So that's wonderful. You know, search and rescue plays a crucial role in saving lives, locating lost or injured hikers, boaters, hunters, and providing emergency assistance in remote wilderness areas. They not only provide residents and visitors, but also strengthen Trinity County's reputation as a safe destination for outdoor recreation. The safe and humane operation of the Trinity County Jail, supported by continuous staffing, medical assistance, and rehabilitation programs, remains a core operational priority for us. So this budget represents a responsible strategic investment in the people and prosperity of Trinity County by prioritizing public safety, addressing emergency threats, and preparing for responding to natural disasters, supporting search and rescue, protecting animals and the environment, fostering community partnerships, and recognizing the vital role law enforcement plays in supporting tourism. The Sheriff's Office continues to safeguard our residents, strengthening our economy, and upholding the quality of life that makes Trinity County a unique and thriving rural community. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Do we have any comments in the room? On Zoom?
I show no hands.
To the board.
No questions. I'm just very excited, as I can tell you are, that you're finally getting back to a place that is certainly not where you would love it to be, but much more tenable. And grateful that you'll be able to have deputies doing what they're supposed to be doing, the jail's fully staffed, and this great collaboration with your partners in the county. It's just great. It's a great position to be in. It's a much more fun year for that.
Thanks for everybody for having a little bit of turnaround there at the Sheriff's Department.
Absolutely. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. It's a step in the right direction. We are rebuilding and we're very excited about that. So thank you.
I will be very happy to see more deputies, especially to the outlying areas. This will be something that I enjoy reporting to my community at large. So thank you for
Right.
everything that it's taken to get us where we are now.
And again, that is my intent as we rebuild to put the deputies out in the outlying areas again and at least shorten up those response times.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Safe.
Right, next we have Department of Transportation. And they have these 18 budget units here on the left.
Panos, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I did not prepare a presentation for the budget hearings. However, if you so desire, I can repeat last month's presentation.
I
It's
thought
only
that
2
was still
hours.
going on. I thought we were still doing that. Seemed like it went on forever. There was no stone unturned. Is that it for you?
Yes, that is
Very good. Is there any comment in the room? Online? The board. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I did just want to say, I noted that recently we got some more money that was being allocated to specific projects and again, was able to clarify with the two of you that, one, it's great effort to try to go get this funding. And then two, just to clarify for people that when we get this funding, it is for very specific reasons and uses. And so it doesn't just mean generally a whole bunch more is going to get done, but at least it's getting some of these things off of our list, our heavy lift list. So thank you for continuing to pursue those funds, prioritize them, and then make them happen with, I know also, like we've been hearing, a very limited staff. So thank you.
Thank you so much. So I have one announcement that we applied for a levy to be accredited by FEMA. And I believe Mr. Gogan has received a letter saying that FEMA has approved the accreditation. So thank you to the engineering team who did that.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, next we have treasurer tax collector. And she has these 4 budget units right here.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board.
Good afternoon.
In the budget book, we provided a detailed description of the various, our goals and objectives that we have for this year. Since you've already covered a lot of information today, I'll just kind of keep mine kind of brief. Our main focus for our office is focus on, safeguarding public funds and improving taxpayer services and strengthening the county's financial operations. I have an amazing team and we work well and collaborate with the different departments and districts and schools that we have. Our focus is a lot of the departments that we have, the revenues that we collect are what supports the county departments, schools, special districts. And so we play a vital role in those discretionary funds that that we have to allocate out. So I just like to want to recognize my team on the work that they do and the efforts that they make. The key objective again is just, prudent investment management, reliable banking services, and the recovery of delinquent revenues through property tax auction seizures and collection activities. We plan on expanding our digital payment options that are available, enhancing online portals, strengthening the compliance monitoring for transient occupancy and the cannabis taxes, ensuring fairness, transparency, and improved accessibility for taxpayers. Internally, we'll continue building resilience and accountability by implementing the fraud prevention measures, streamlining tax apportionment processes, investing in staff training and cross-training. These efforts protect public trust and ensure that the county can support essential services, foster responsible growth, meet community priorities. By linking the sound financial stewardship with innovation and outreach, the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office contributes directly to safe, vibrant, and thriving Trinity County. And with that, if you have any questions for me.
Any comments in the room? On Zoom?
Veronica,
Good afternoon, Veronica Kelly Albies, Douglas City. I just wanted to start with thanking Terry's department. I work with the Trinity County Chamber of Commerce, and their office has been incredibly helpful in helping us gather data. And I came in late to today's meeting, so maybe this was covered, but I know one of the items is the TOT administration fee, which is in the item we just covering. So I'm gonna kind of go item adjacent and just really hope that if the discussion hasn't already occurred, that you continue to really fund and support the tourism partners, the TOT partners you have. We have seen growth since last budget in all areas, I think, of the partners. I know as I said, I work with the Trinity County Chamber, and we have seen an increase in our TOT funding coming through to the county. We have had volunteers putting in countless hours through all of the partners. Nothing is paid. Everybody does it for the love of Trinity County and or their specific area to create economic health and stability and to better their communities. So I hope that you will continue to invest in that, because we are coming up on a really great season with the Witches Brigade and the Mountain Christmas, and just a lot of great events. So please, please, please continue to support those efforts that are upheld by volunteers, people that have really committed themselves to making sure that we have great exposure throughout the world. And we've been collecting data through Terry's department, and it's been extremely helpful to help us guide us on where we're going and how we're doing things. So I just wanted to say thank you to them and just really put that out there about TOT. Please continue to support your partners. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Board?
Any,
no other raised hands.
yeah, I will just say in response that this isn't necessarily the area, but it didn't get covered earlier. And so to that comment made about the transient occupancy tax portion that we carry through the general fund and then have historically allocated to the tourism partners, if you will. My understanding coming into this is that we've set aside $70,000 to match what we've done in the past. We set up a new ad hoc committee recently that would meet with, review applications from various entities for a portion of that 70,000. And then that ad hoc committee would present back to this board their recommendations on how that 70,000 or less should be allocated to those individuals or those organizations. And so that's kind of the path that we're on. And we had originally had talked about a timeline that had those applications being submitted before now. But we thought, well, why do that if we don't know if the board is going to direct to actually still leave that 70,000 for that purpose? So, at this point, we can maybe get a consensus direction that that's the case. And then I just do want to note, as CEO Tuthill mentioned earlier, we definitely have been on a pause regarding the Tourism Business Investment District. The highlight of that is that while we're talking about 70,000 here, that would be over $200,000 that would all be directly allocated to tourism that could greatly amplify whatever's going to be done with this 70,000. So this is one of those fight the good fights. I haven't given up yet. We gave some time off because we heard that everybody's very busy in the summer. So if you want to talk to lodging and transient business owners, then give them some breathing room. So now the breathing room is kind of coming around. We're able to gear back up. We'll know what we're going to do with this 70,000, and maybe we can make a more compelling argument for tripling that by adding another piece to, as Supervisor Gogan said, the taxes for assessments that are collected from the visitors to Trinity County who help drive business, but also use our services. So that's my sense, and I'm assuming the board is still on board with carrying forward at this point with the 70,000 to be considered for tourism allocation. Lots of nodded heads. So. Okay. I'll work with staff to get that published so that we can get something out as chair of that committee.
I just want to make one comment if I could. I am on board with leaving the 70,000 as recommended this year. I also just want to put a little thought out into the airspace that for Trinity County, it is, my perception is it's an assumption that funds that come in through transient occupancy tax, just in our minds, what kind of makes sense, that automatically is to put more heads in beds because that's where the money came from. But to remind us that that money is to address the impacts of our visitors to our county. They don't come without leaving a trail behind, and that can come in the form of our roads or our parks or our emergency services. Perhaps in certain respects, some of the impacts we've seen in our homelessness camps. And that is the original intent. It's just that over time, we have chosen to spend various amounts of it, and kind of more recently, we've kind of landed and stabilized at this 70,000. And so in our minds, that's what it's for. And so I just would like us to do some thinking about whether it is the increased TOT tax or the success of this T-bid, because that, even if we increase the TOT tax, that money then is up for board discussion. But if that T-bid were successful, there's no board discussion surrounding that. That goes to those folks to make those decisions about how you want to increase tourism to our county. And so while we're not touching it this year, I think by consensus, I think it's an important conversation to have and consider going forward when we consider those things that also impact us. We've had discussions about our fire departments and so forth. Putting that out, and I'm done.
Thank you.
Mhm.
We are done? Joe, I think you're done.
Just to clarify on the TOT, I think there's a lot of confusion in not just Trinity County, but across the state of California on the purposes of that tax. It's a transient occupancy tax. The reason that gets charged on hotel rooms and overnight stays is that normally those individuals do not own property or parcels in your county. Those of you that own parcels here pay property tax. You pay all these other taxes for being residents or citizens of the county. The TOT is intended to tax those people who are visiting to help them bear the burden of your sheriff department, your HHS departments, all of those services that are here for them when they come on vacation and do stupid stuff and get hurt, right? Then our team takes care of them. So the TOT helps to offset those costs. The tourism deal is more direct to promoting tourism, and you're exactly correct. I just think it's important for people to know that, and I think it's good that you're talking about it because that discussion hasn't happened before those taxes went for voter approvals. I think a lot of it is the citizens don't understand the purpose behind the tax, and once they do, that they'll get on board with that.
Thank you. Well,
So-
everybody can go home. I think we have one.
Before we close, I need you guys to give us some direction on what you want us to bring back to you on the 29th as final budget. Is it the the budget as presented today? Are there adjustments that you guys want made? What does that look like? And keep in mind, as CAO Tuthill reminded us earlier, if we want to increase somewhere, we have to decrease somewhere. So we would be looking for that direction to say, increase here and decrease here.
I think we do have one public comment left in the room. Should we take it now or after?
If you want to open it up for general
There
public
was one, I
comment,
think.
just for
Ben,
to
did you
close
wanna-
out the
did you have
meeting,
a-
that's just fine. I mean, it's up to you as chair.
Okay, let's go ahead and do it. Good, no, we're good. I didn't see anybody get up, so we'll just move on.
So I don't want you to have a heart attack or anything, but I haven't heard us ask for any changes whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I think we're good.
I have not.
I'm in support
So-
of bringing this budget to us for approval.
I would agree.
I am as well.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben, did you have something you want to say before we leave?
So as far as the TOT, it's realistic, it's a no-brainer. We should all vote for it. The only people that don't want it are the lodging owners, predominantly, the Airbnbs. But realistically, it's money for us. It has nothing to do with people who live in the county unless you plan on staying at a hotel or a motel in the county, then you'll get charged. But it's not this giant conspiracy of the counties trying to take money from us anymore. This isn't TOT money.
Thank you very much. We had TOT talk earlier, so we had comment on that, TOT tax and part of our discussion, and you could have thrown it in there then. We all good to go? Thank you, guys. Have a great day.